Welcome back. Tonight's journey takes you to the twilight realm of medieval slumber, where dreams were not just fleeting visions but gateways to other worlds. In firelit chambers and humble cottages alike, our ancestors crafted intricate rituals to safeguard their sleeping minds. These forgotten sleep charms, whispered incantations, carefully placed talismans, and sacred herbs, once promised protection from night terrors and passage to sweet visions. Tonight, we explore how these ancient practices wove magic into the vulnerable hours of darkness. If you're enjoying this peaceful moment, please like, share, and subscribe. I wonder, what dreams have visited you most often throughout your life? Dim your lights until shadows dance gently across your walls. Let the soft rhythm of your breath create a gentle tide of calm. As your eyelids grow heavy with the sweet weight of history's whispers, allow your thoughts to drift backward through time's mist into a world where sleep was both sanctuary and peril. You wake before dawn, though wake might not be the right word. Your consciousness surfaces slowly from the depths of slumber, like a bubble rising through dark water. The room is cold, a bitter, bone-touching cold that makes the straw mattress beneath you crackle with frost. Winter has descended upon the village with unusual ferocity, and the small cottage you call home offers little protection against its bite. The thatched roof above your head is thick, but the wind still finds its way through tiny gaps, whispering ancient secrets as it passes. Beside you, your younger sister sleeps soundly, her breath forming tiny clouds in the pre-dawn darkness. As though 8 summers old, Elspeth has been plagued by nightmares since your mother passed last spring. Her restless whimpers have become a nightly occurrence, but tonight she sleeps peacefully. You smile, knowing the reason why. Suspended above her head is the charm you completed yesterday, a small linen sachet containing dried lavender, a sprig of rosemary from the garden, 3 cloves, and most importantly, the single silver thread that old Agnes, the wise woman, had given you. Silver catches moonlight, she had told you, her rheumy eyes twinkling knowingly, and moonlight catches bad dreams before they can sink their teeth into sleeping minds. You rise carefully, ensuring not to disturb Elspeth's rare, peaceful slumber. The packed earth floor is cold beneath your bare feet, and you hurriedly slip them into wooden clogs by the bedside. Your father won't be awake for another hour, giving you precious time alone with your thoughts and your work. From beneath your mattress, you withdraw a small leather-bound book. Its cover is worn smooth by generations of hands, your grandmother's, your mother's, and now yours. The book contains knowledge that some in the village eye with suspicion, ancient remedies, protective charms, and healing rituals that bridge the tenuous gap between Christian prayer and older ways. Your mother called it women's wisdom, and emphasized that such knowledge must be wielded with care and reverence. You carry the book to the small table near the hearth and carefully coax the dying embers back to life. As a small flame grows, dancing shadows stretch across the walls of your humble home. The cottage consists of just one room, divided by function rather than walls. The sleeping area with straw-filled mattresses occupies one corner, the hearth and preparation table another. A small loom sits in the third, and your father's woodworking tools hang neatly in the fourth. As the room gradually warms, you open the book to the page marked with a sprig of dried hyssop. The vellum crackles softly under your touch. Your mother's handwriting flows across the page in elegant curves, interspersed with drawings of plants, phases of the moon, and curious symbols. Today, you seek something specific, a sleep charm said to ward off the night hag, the malevolent spirit who sits upon sleepers' chests, crushing the breath from them and bringing terrifying visions. Old Willem, the miller, has been complaining of waking breathless and frightened. His wife confided in you that he believes some ill will has been directed at him, perhaps by a competitor from the neighbouring village. You promised to help, though you were careful not to promise too much. The fine line between folk healing and accusations of witchcraft has grown thinner in recent years, with a travelling priest having spent last autumn preaching fiercely against women's superstitions. Your finger traces the words on the page before you. To ward against the night hag and secure peaceful rest. The instructions call for a specific combination of herbs to be gathered at dawn, dried in the waning moon's light, and sewn into a small pillow to be placed beneath the afflicted's head. But the most important ingredient is intention. The focused will of the charm maker must be poured into the work. You check the small bundles of dried herbs hanging from the rafters above. The morning light has begun to seep through the small window, illuminating motes of dust dancing in the air. You select sprigs of dried valerian root, its earthy scent pungent and grounding. Next comes chamomile, gentler and sweetly fragrant. Your fingers brush against mugwort, the dreamer's herb, sacred to the old goddess whose name is no longer spoken aloud. As you work, a memory surfaces of your mother teaching you to identify these plants in the forest and meadows surrounding the village. Always harvest with gratitude, she'd instructed, demonstrating how to cut the stems with a small silver knife, leaving enough for the plant to regrow. Take only what you need and give thanks for what is given. You remember how she would murmur soft words to each plant before cutting, not quite prayers, but something older. When you'd asked why, she explained that every living thing has a spirit, and it is wise to ask permission before taking what belongs to another. Your father had frowned at such talk, but never forbade it. Women's matters, he'd mutter before returning to his wood carving. The memory brings a bittersweet ache to your chest. It has been nearly a year since the fever took her, yet sometimes her absence feels as fresh as yesterday. You wonder if she watches over you from beyond the veil, guiding your hands as you practice the skills she taught you. You continue your work, crumbling the dried herbs between your fingers and catching them in a small wooden bowl. The fragrances blend together, earthy, sweet, sharp, creating a scent that already feels drowsy and dream-touched. To this mixture, you add 3 drops of precious sweet oil that a travelling merchant had traded for one of your father's intricately carved boxes last summer. The oil catches the firelight, glistening as it binds the herbs together. From a small pouch around your neck, you withdraw a polished river stone with a natural hole through its centre, a hagstone found years ago while washing linens by the stream. Such stones are powerful protection against malevolent spirits, allowing one to peer through the hole and glimpse the other world. You pass the herbal mixture through the stone's opening 3 times, whispering the words your mother taught you with each pass. By stone and herb and moon's pale light, guard sleep from harm throughout the night. No hag shall press, no spirit. Fright from dusk to dawn, till morning bright. The words feel ancient on your tongue, as though they've been spoken by countless women before you, stretching back through time immemorial. There's power in them, not the grand, thunderous power of church bells and Latin incantations, but something quieter, more intimate. The power of hearth and home, of cycles and seasons, of the space between sleeping and waking. You withdraw a square of linen from your sewing basket, a scrap from one of your mother's old aprons, washed and mended countless times. The fabric is soft with age and use, carrying within its threads the echoes of your mother's daily work. This connection makes it perfect for your purpose. Sleep charms work best when they contain elements of comfort and familiarity. With quick practice stitches, you fashion a small pillow, leaving one edge open. Into this, you spoon the herbal mixture, being careful not to spill any. The finishing touch is a single long silver thread, rare and precious, that Agnes gave you in exchange for the fever remedy you prepared for her grandson last month. Silver repels evil, creates boundaries that malevolent spirits cannot cross. You thread a bone needle and sew the opening closed, weaving the silver thread through the stitches in a pattern that forms a subtle five-pointed star, a symbol of protection since time beyond memory. As you work, you focus your thoughts on Willem, imagining him sleeping peacefully, his chest rising and falling in easy rhythm, his face relaxed and untroubled. The charm complete, you hold it between your palms, feeling its subtle warmth, not from the herbs themselves, but from something less tangible, something flowing from your intentions into the physical materials. You whisper a final blessing, then wrap the charm in a clean cloth, ready to deliver to Willem's wife later in the day. Behind you, Elspeth stirs, her small voice thick with sleep. "Are you making magic again?" she asks, rubbing her eyes as she sits up in the shared bed. You smile and move to sit beside her. "Not magic, little one, just help for those who need rest." You smooth her tangled hair away from her face. "Did you sleep well? No bad dreams?" She shakes her head, eyes wide and earnest. "I dreamt of Mother. She was in a garden full of flowers I've never seen before, all colors like jewels. She told me to tell you that you're doing well." Elspeth touches the charm hanging above her sleeping place. "It's because of this, isn't it? It keeps the bad dreams away and lets the good ones in." Your throat tightens with emotion, but you manage a nod. Children are said to be closer to the veil between worlds, more able to receive messages from beyond. Perhaps it was truly a visitation, or perhaps simply Elspeth's mind creating comfort from memory. Either way, the words soothe something restless within you. "Come," you say, standing and straightening your skirts. "Let's prepare breakfast before Father wakes. Then we have bread to bake and water to fetch." The day unfolds in the rhythm of chores that structure village life. You knead dough with practiced motions, your mind half on the task and half on the sleep charms you've been studying. Your father leaves for the day's woodcutting with a hunk of bread and cheese wrapped in cloth. Elspeth feeds the chickens that peck around the small yard behind your cottage. By midday you've finished enough of your tasks to justify the walk to Willem's mill at the village's edge. You wrap the sleep charm carefully and place it in your basket, along with a small jar of honey from your hives. The honey serves two purposes: as a gift to soften any potential awkwardness around the charm, and as a practical remedy, as a spoonful of honey in warm milk makes its own powerful sleep aid. The path to the mill winds alongside the stream that powers Willem's water wheel. February has locked most of the water beneath ice, but the stream runs too swiftly to freeze completely. You follow its gurgling voice, your breath forming clouds in the cold air. The forest surrounding the path feels watchful in winter. With the leaves gone, you can see deeper between the trees than in summer months. Yet somehow, this greater visibility makes the woods seem more mysterious, not less. As you walk, you notice signs of the turning season that most villagers might miss. A witch hazel bush displays its spidery yellow blossoms, defying the snow around its roots. A male cardinal, brilliant red against the forest's brown and white, calls for a mate from a bare branch. The signs are subtle but clear to those who know how to read them. Despite the cold, life is stirring beneath the surface. The wheel of the year continues to turn. You reach the mill and find Marjorie, Willem's wife, hanging laundry that freezes almost as quickly as she pins it to the line. The cold makes fabric stiff, but also cleanses it in ways summer washing cannot. Each frozen sheet will be brought inside to thaw and dry by the fire, smelling of winter's sharp clarity. "Good day to you, Marjorie," you call, approaching with your basket held before you like an offering. The older woman turns, her weathered face breaking into a smile when she sees you. "And to you, child, what brings you out in such cold?" you explain, about the sleep charm, careful to frame it in terms Marjorie will find acceptable. You know she attends church faithfully every Sunday, but also keeps a rowan branch above her door. Like many in the village, she walks the line between old ways and new. "It's just a little herb pillow," you explain. "The scent helps calm troubled minds." Marjorie nods, understanding the unspoken elements of your gift. "Willem's been in sore need of rest," she confides, leading you inside the small house attached to the mill. The interior smells of flour dust and wood smoke. 3 nights this week he's woken gasping, claiming a weight was pressing on his chest. "The night hag," you murmur before you can stop yourself. Rather than showing alarm at this reference to pre-Christian belief, Marjorie's eyes widen with recognition. "My grandmother spoke of such a creature. She said it rode on sleepers' chests and stole their breath." She lowers her voice. "Do you truly think that's what troubles him?" You consider your response carefully. "I think many things can disturb sleep. Worries, physical discomforts, perhaps even spirits. This charm," you unwrap it from its cloth, "doesn't concern itself with the cause. It simply creates protection for peaceful rest." Marjorie takes the small linen pillow, turning it over in her work-roughened hands. She brings it to her nose and inhales deeply, her eyes closing momentarily. "It smells of summer," she says with a small smile. "How is it used?" You explain that it should be placed beneath Willem's regular pillow, ideally without him knowing. Sleep charms work best when the recipient doesn't overthink their effectiveness. You also provide instructions for the honey, suggesting a warm drink before bed. "And what payment do you ask?" Marjorie inquires, already moving toward a small chest where she keeps household valuables. You shake your head. "No payment. Consider it a kindness in memory of my mother. She always spoke highly of Willem's fair measurements at the mill. The truth is more complex. You need practice with these charms, need to confirm their efficacy. Each successful remedy builds your confidence and reputation in subtle ways. But there's another layer too. Your mother taught you that healing gifts should be freely given when possible. The knowledge flows through us, not from us, she would say. We are but channels for wisdom older than ourselves. Marjorie insists you take a small sack of fine ground flour in exchange, and you accept graciously, knowing that refusing would only create discomfort. The economy of village life runs on such exchanges, gifts given and received, creating bonds of obligation and gratitude that tie the community together. As you make your way back home, the short winter day is already fading towards dusk. You hurry your steps, not wanting to be caught in full darkness. The forest around the path seems to lean closer as shadows lengthen, and you find yourself remembering the stories your mother told of the threshold hours, dawn and dusk, when the veil between worlds grows thin. You arrive home just as your father returns from his day's work, his shoulders dusted with sawdust and snow. Elspeth greets him enthusiastically, chattering about her day as he removes his heavy boots by the door. His weathered face shows the exhaustion of physical labor, but he manages a smile for his younger daughter. The evening passes in domestic tasks, preparing a simple stew with winter vegetables and a precious bit of salt pork, mending a tear in your father's work tunic, telling Elspeth stories to keep her entertained. As full darkness descends, your father carves by firelight, his skilled hands transforming a block of oak into what will eventually be a serving spoon. The familiar sound of his knife against wood provides a rhythmic backdrop to the night. When it's time for sleep, you check Elspeth's dream charm, ensuring it's properly positioned above her sleeping place. Your father watches silently from his chair by the fire, his expression unreadable. He has never forbidden your mother's practices, but neither has he fully embraced them. Since her death, he has retreated further into silence on the matter, though you've noticed he touches the protective carving on the door lintel each time he enters, a habit your mother instilled in him over their years together. Do they truly help? He asks suddenly, nodding toward the charm. His voice is rough with disuse, as he speaks less and less these days. You consider your answer carefully. Elspeth hasn't had nightmares since I hung it there, you reply. Whether it's the herbs themselves or her belief in them that helps, I cannot say for certain. But does the mechanism matter if the result brings comfort? He grunts non-committally, returning to his carving. After a moment, he speaks again without looking up. Your mother would be proud. You have her way with plants and with words. The unexpected praise warms you more thoroughly than the fire. You murmur thanks and bid him good night, settling onto the mattress beside Elspeth, who has already drifted into sleep. Despite the cold that never quite leaves the cottage, you feel a sense of accomplishment warming you from within. The sleep, charm for Willem, your father's rare words of approval, Elspeth's peaceful rest, small victories against winter's hardships. As sleep begins to claim you, your thoughts drift to the charm book hidden beneath your mattress. Tomorrow, perhaps, you'll study the section on prophetic dreaming. Dreams that reveal future events or answer pressing questions. Your mother had particular skill with dream interpretation, and you feel drawn to develop this ability yourself. In the depth of night, you wake to the sound of Elspeth whispering. Alarmed at first, you quickly realize she's not in distress. Her voice holds a note of wonder, almost joy. You remain still, listening carefully. Yes, she murmurs in her sleep. I understand now. No, it doesn't hurt anymore. I'll tell her. A conversation with someone unseen. You hold your breath, not wanting to interrupt whatever experience is unfolding in her dreamscape. After a few more unintelligible murmurs, she falls silent, her breathing deep and regular. In the morning, she wakes with a peaceful expression you haven't seen since before your mother's illness. She came, Elspeth says simply as she accepts the bowl of porridge you offer. Mother showed me where she lives now. It's full of light, and she has a garden bigger than the whole village. Did you ask your questions? You inquire gently, not wanting to lead her responses, but curious about her experience. Elspeth nods, stirring her porridge thoughtfully. She said she's never cold there, and she sees us all the time, not just when we're thinking of her. A small furrow appears between her brows. She said dying was like falling asleep in one room and waking in another, that the hard part was leaving us behind, not the journey itself. The words bring unexpected tears to your eyes. They sound so much like something your mother would say, practical yet poetic, addressing the heart of a fear with simple, profound imagery. Whether the dream was truly a visitation or simply Elspeth's mind creating comfort doesn't matter. The peace it has brought is real. She also said, Elspeth looks up at you with serious eyes, that you should look in the blue jar on the high shelf, that you'd know what to do with what you find there. This detail sends a shiver through you. The blue jar had been your mother's special container for her most precious herbs and ingredients. You'd avoided opening it after her death, partly from grief, and partly from a sense that its contents should remain undisturbed. That Elspeth would mention it specifically, when you're certain you've never discussed it with her, feels significant. Later, when Elspeth is occupied with feeding the chickens, you retrieve the blue jar from its place on the highest shelf. It's sealed with wax, preserved exactly as your mother left it. Breaking the seal feels momentous, a crossing of your own threshold. Inside, you find a small leather pouch containing seeds you don't recognize, along with a folded piece of parchment in your mother's handwriting. For dreaming true, the note reads, plant at the dark of the moon in earth that has known grief, water with purpose. Harvest when the flowers face the rising sun, never at any other time. Use with great care. True dreams can bring both healing and harm. Your breath catches. These must be seeds for a rare dream herb your mother mentioned, occasionally, but had never shown you, a plant said to grow only for those with the gift for dream walking. That she saved these seeds, presumably for you to find, suggests she saw in you a potential she hadn't had time to fully nurture. The discovery feels like both gift and challenge. You place the pouch of seeds carefully in your own medicine bundle, knowing that spring, the proper time for planting, is still weeks away. Until then, you have much to learn about dream work, much to practice and understand. In the days that follow, your reputation as a maker of sleep charms grows. People from neighboring villages begin to seek you out, traveling through winter weather to request your help with troubled sleep, nightmares, or simply the deep exhaustion that comes from overwork and worry. You help where you can, always careful, to frame your work in terms that won't draw unwelcome attention from church authorities. Simple herbcraft, you call it when asked directly. Old recipes for restful nights. Most people understand the unspoken aspects of what you do, the whispered words, the phases of the moon observed, the patterns sewn with intention. In this borderland between official doctrine and folk practice, most villagers dwell comfortably, taking what works and leaving the rest unnamed. Your father watches your growing practice with a mixture of pride and concern. One evening, as you prepare a particularly complex charm for the blacksmith's wife, who has walked in her sleep since childhood, he speaks his worry aloud. You must be careful, he says, his voice low, though no one but Elspeth could overhear. The new priest has been asking questions about remedies that aren't sanctioned by the church. You nod, acknowledging the warning. The previous priest had been an elderly man, born in the village, who understood the practical necessity of certain old ways continuing alongside Christian practice. This new one, young and educated in a distant city, shows less tolerance for what he calls pagan remnants. I am careful, you assure your father. I speak only of herbs and their natural properties. I make no claims of special power. He studies, your face in the firelight, his own expression troubled. Your mother was careful too, he says finally. But there were always those who envied her knowledge, her ability to help when others could not. He returns to his carving, but adds quietly, just remember that not all who smile to your face wish you well. the warning settles like a cold stone in your stomach. You know he's right. Healing work, especially women's healing that operates outside official channels, can attract both gratitude and resentment. Your mother navigated these waters successfully for years, but times are changing, attitudes hardening. That night, before sleeping, you create a charm for yourself, something you've neglected amid making them for others, using scraps of fabric. From your mother's old apron, you sew a small pouch filled with protective herbs. St. John's wort for deflecting ill will, blackthorn for strength in adversity, rowan berries for general protection. You add a sliver of iron, old and powerful protection against malevolent forces, and 3 strands of your own hair to bind the charm to yourself. As you work, you find yourself humming an old tune your mother often sang while preparing remedies, a wordless melody that rises and falls like breathing. The familiar rhythm soothes your worried mind, reminding you that you're part of a long tradition, a lineage of women who have carried healing knowledge through difficult times. You hang the finished charm from the rafter above your sleeping place, next to Elspeth's dream charm. Your sister watches with curious eyes. "Is that to keep bad people away?" she asks perceptively. "Not exactly," you answer, settling beside her on the mattress. "It's to keep worry away, so I can rest and dream clearly." This is partly true. A troubled mind makes for troubled dreams, and you need your dream sense sharp and clear, especially now that you've discovered your mother's special seeds. As winter slowly loosens its grip on the land, you continue your work with sleep charms while expanding your knowledge of dream lore. You pore over your mother's book in stolen moments, deciphering her cryptic notes about dream symbols, lucid dreaming techniques, and methods for sending messages through dreams. You experiment carefully with these techniques, starting with simple exercises in awareness. Before sleeping each night, you focus on your hands, telling yourself to look at them within your dreams. After several nights of practice, you succeed, finding yourself standing in a dream meadow, looking down at your hands with the strange double awareness of knowing you're dreaming while still experiencing the dream. This small success encourages you. Night by night, you develop greater control over your dream experiences, learning to navigate the strange landscape of sleep consciousness. Sometimes you encounter barriers, blank walls, or impassable rivers that prevent you from reaching certain dream locations. Your mother's notes suggest these are protective boundaries, perhaps even placed by your own mind to prevent venturing too far before you're ready. Dreamwalking requires balance, one passage reads. Too much control makes the dream rigid and closes it to wisdom from beyond ourselves. Too little control leaves the dreamer vulnerable to influences both benign and malevolent. Seek the middle path, directed but open, purposeful but receptive. The next morning brings unexpected news. Marjorie arrives at your cottage just after dawn, her face alight with amazement. Willem slept through the night without waking, the first uninterrupted sleep he'd experienced in weeks. He says he dreamed of flying over green fields, Marjorie reports excitedly. No weight on his chest, no terror. Just peaceful flight. Pride and relief flow through you in equal measure. The charm worked, whether through the properties of the herbs themselves, the power of belief, or something more mysterious. The cause matters less than the effect. A neighbour's suffering eased, a small balance restored. Word spreads quickly in a small village. By midday, 2 more women have approached you discreetly. One seeking help for a child who walks in his sleep, another for an elderly mother troubled by painful memories that surface in dreams. You promise to help both, mentally cataloguing which herbs you have in sufficient quantity and which you might need to trade for. As you work through your daily chores, you find yourself thinking about the nature of sleep and dreams. Your mother taught that sleep is not merely absence, not a void or emptiness, but another state of being, as rich and complex as waking life. Dreams are journeys the soul takes while the body rests, she'd explained. Sometimes these journeys are merely the mind sorting through the day's events, but other times they are true travels to other realms. This perspective makes sleep charms not just aids for physical rest, but guides for the traveling soul, protections for its journey, and beacons for its return. The thought brings new depth to your understanding of the work you're doing, transforming it from simple herbal remedy to spiritual stewardship. That afternoon, you venture into the winter woods to gather more supplies. Though most plants lie dormant beneath snow, certain barks and roots can still be harvested, and you know where to find the evergreen herbs that retain their potency year-round. The forest feels different today, less ominous than yesterday, more like an old friend keeping secrets, but willing to share them with those who ask properly. You find a patch of wintergreen, its glossy leaves defiant against the snow. As you harvest a modest amount, you whisper thanks to the plant and leave a small offering, a strand of your hair twisted into a ring and placed at the plant's base, an exchange, not a taking. Near a fallen log, you discover the dried seed heads of wild lettuce, known for its mild sedative properties. The brittle stems snap easily in your fingers as you collect them into your gathering basket. A flash of movement catches your eye, a small brown hare watching you from a thicket. In your mother's stories, hares were messengers between worlds, symbols of intuition and quick movement between realms. You remain still, meeting the creature's gaze until it decides you pose no threat and returns to nibbling on hidden bark. The encounter feels significant, though you couldn't explain precisely. Why? Perhaps it's simply that moments of connection with wild creatures are rare and thus precious. Or perhaps it's a sign that your work with sleep and dreams, the borders between states of being, has been noticed by powers that dwell in such threshold spaces. By the time you return home, your basket contains an array of winter findings: pine resin, birch bark, juniper berries, and dried mushrooms that cling to tree trunks. Each has properties that affect dreams in different ways. Pine brings clarity to confused thoughts. Birch offers protection against negative influences. Juniper banishes fear, and certain mushrooms can deepen the dream state, allowing for more vivid experiences. Over the next several days, you create different sleep charms for those who have requested them, each tailored to the specific need. For the sleepwalking boy, you fashion a charm heavy with grounding herbs, valerian root and oak bark, to keep his spirit tethered to his body during sleep. For the elderly woman troubled by memories, you create a softer charm with lavender and linden flowers, herbs that soothe the mind and gently redirect troubling thoughts. As you work, your confidence grows. Each successful remedy brings new requests, and you find yourself becoming what your mother once was: a quiet healer, operating in the spaces between official medicine and village folklore. The local priest would likely disapprove of some aspects of your work, particularly the whispered incantations and symbolic patterns you sew into each charm. But you're careful to present your remedies in terms of practical herbcraft rather than spiritual practice. One evening, as you sit by the fire grinding dried herbs with mortar and pestle, Elspeth watches you with unusual intensity. "Can you make a charm that calls specific dreams?" she asks suddenly. You pause in your work, considering. What kind of dreams would you call, little one? Her small face grows solemn. Dreams of mother. I want to speak with her again. Ask her things I've forgotten to remember. The request tugs at your heart. You've wondered something similar yourself, whether dreams might offer a channel to communicate with those who have passed beyond. Your mother's book contains references to such practices, though they're written in veiled terms, perhaps to protect against accusations of necromancy. Such dreams are delicate things, you tell Elspeth gently. They cannot be commanded, only invited. But we could create a charm that opens the possibility. You hesitate, then add, what would you ask her, if you could? Elspeth twists a strand of her hair around one finger, thinking. I would ask if she's cold where she is, and if she can see us, and... Her voice drops to a whisper. I'd ask if it hurt at the end. Father wouldn't let me see her. The questions reveal the workings of a child's mind grappling with mortality. Concrete concerns rather than abstract philosophies. You pull Elspeth into an embrace, feeling her small body against yours. So fragile, yet so resilient. I think, you say carefully, that we could make a special charm for remembrance dreams. Not to demand mother's presence, but to create a space where such a meeting might occur if it's possible. You don't want to promise too much. Dreams are unpredictable, and the dead follow their own laws. But neither do you want to extinguish Elspeth's hope. Together, you design a new kind of sleep charm. You let Elspeth select the herbs from your stores, explaining their properties as she chooses. Rosemary for remembrance. Mugwort to open the pathways between worlds. A single white rose petal, dried from the bush that grows over your mother's grave. You add a fragment of eggshell, symbol of boundaries between worlds, and a tiny piece of your mother's embroidery thread from her sewing basket. As you work, you teach Elspeth the importance of intention. Think clearly about what you wish for, you instruct. Not just with your mind, but with your heart. Feel the desire for the dream as you stitch. Her small fingers are clumsy with the needle, but her concentration is absolute. When she pricks, her finger and a drop of blood falls onto the charm's fabric. You don't clean it away. Blood is powerful, life's essence, freely given. And while you would never deliberately use blood in a charm for another person, this accidental addition to Elspeth's own charm seems fitting. Sometimes, you tell her as you finish the final stitches, the most powerful ingredients are not herbs at all, but emotions, love, memory, desire. These things have their own magic. That night, you hang the new charm above Elspeth's side of the bed, replacing the simpler one that merely warded off nightmares. This new creation is more complex in purpose, not just protective, but inviting, not just a shield, but a bridge. As she drifts towards sleep, you sing the lullaby your mother once sang to both of you, your voice soft in the darkened cottage. You do not know if Elspeth's charm will work as she hopes. The boundaries between living and dead are not easily crossed. And dreams, for all their wonder, follow mysterious laws of their own. But you've done what you can to honor her need for connection, her desire to resolve the questions that trouble her young heart. You practice finding this balance, and gradually, your dream experiences deepen. You begin to encounter places that feel more real than ordinary dreams. Landscapes with consistent features that remain the same night after night. A circular clearing, in a forest you've never seen while awake. A stone well with symbols carved around its rim. A small cottage with windows that glow with blue light. In your mother's notes, such consistent dream locations are called anchors. Places where the dreaming mind can establish a foothold in the deeper realms of sleep. They serve as meeting places or starting points for more deliberate dream journeys. One night, as the first hints of spring soften the air, you dream of the circular clearing and find someone waiting there, an elderly woman you don't recognize, with eyes that seem to hold starlight. She smiles when she sees you, as though she's been expecting your arrival. "You've found your way," she says, her voice unlike any you've heard before, like distant bells or water flowing over stones. "Your mother said you would, when the time was right." "Who are you?" you ask, aware that you're dreaming, but also certain this is more than an ordinary dream. The woman's smile deepens. "I am many things to many people, teacher to some, guardian to others." She gestures to the clearing around you. This place exists in the realm between realms, where those with certain gifts can meet and learn. Your mother came here often. Now, you have found the way as well. The conversation that follows is unlike any you've experienced, a strange mixture of instruction, riddle, and revelation. The woman speaks of dream paths and their guardians, of the responsibilities that come with walking between worlds, of the ancient pact between those who heal through dreams and those who dwell in the dream realms. When you wake, fragments of the encounter cling to your mind like cobwebs, elusive but persistent. You record what you remember in a small book of your own. Started when your mother's book began to feel too small for both her knowledge and your growing experiences. The act of writing helps solidify the memory, transforming dream wisdom into something you can reference and build upon. As the days lengthen and the first spring flowers push through the softening earth, you prepare to plant your mother's special dream seeds. Following her instructions, you select a spot that has known grief, interpreting this to mean the small patch of earth behind the cottage where your mother spent her last days sitting in the sun when she grew too weak to walk farther. You wait for the dark of the moon, when the night sky holds no lunar light, and plant the seeds with reverence, speaking words of intention over the disturbed soil. "Grow for healing," you whisper. "Grow for truth. Grow for dreams that guide and protect." Within days, tiny green shoots appear, faster than any normal plant would germinate. Their rapid growth confirms what you suspected. These are no ordinary herbs. You tend them carefully, watching as they develop unusual blue-green leaves with silver veining. By the full moon, they've grown knee-high, though they haven't yet flowered. Your work with sleep charms continues alongside this new project. As winter illnesses fade with the coming of spring, new concerns arise among villagers. Anxiety about the planting season ahead, worries about livestock birth, the perpetual human fears that shift with the changing seasons, but never fully disappear. You adapt your charms accordingly, focusing less on physical warmth and protection against winter's harshness, more on clarity of mind and strength of purpose. You find yourself creating what your mother called courage charms, dream aids that help the sleeper find resolve and confidence for the challenges of the waking day. As your practice evolves, so too does your understanding of what sleep truly is. Not merely rest for the body, but nourishment for the spirit. A time when the essential self can be restored and guided. Your mother once told you that humans are like plants with their roots in two worlds, the physical realm of daylight and the spiritual realm of dreams. Both sources of nourishment are necessary for wholeness. This perspective transforms how you view your work. You're not just helping villagers sleep more comfortably, you're helping them maintain their connection to something essential, something that modern church teaching increasingly overlooks or even denies. The thought brings both purpose and caution. You're preserving knowledge that some would see eradicated, yet doing so in ways that appear harmless and practical. One morning in early spring, as dawn light filters through the cottage window, Elspeth wakes from a deep sleep with an urgent message. "I dreamed of Mother again," she says, her voice still thick with sleep. "She said the flowers will bloom tomorrow at sunrise, and you must be ready to harvest them immediately." You know instantly that she means the dream herb plants, though Elspeth has no knowledge of your mother's instructions about harvesting when the flowers face the rising sun. Her dream message aligns perfectly with those guidelines. Once again, you're struck by how your sister seems to receive these communications so clearly, without the years of practice you've undertaken. "Thank you, little one," you say, stroking her tangled hair. "Did Mother say anything else?" Elspeth nods, her expression serious. "She said to bring a silver bowl for collecting the dew that gathers in the flowers, and to speak no words during the harvesting, not even whispered ones. The specificity of these instructions, details not included in your mother's written notes, convinces you of their authenticity. That night, you prepare carefully, setting out your sharpest knife with a bone handle. Never iron for harvesting magical herbs, according to tradition, and locating a small silver bowl that had been part of your mother's dowry, rarely used and kept wrapped in soft cloth. You wake before dawn, slipping quietly from the bed without disturbing Elspeth. The air holds the special hush that precedes sunrise, a moment when the world seems perfectly balanced between night and day. You make your way to the herb patch and kneel beside the plants. In the growing light, you watch in wonder as the previously closed buds begin to unfurl, revealing blossoms unlike any you've seen before. Star-shaped flowers with petals of deep indigo that fade to silver at the tips. As the first direct rays of sunlight touch them, the flowers turn toward the light with visible movement, like faces seeking warmth. Following your instructions, you remain silent as you harvest, cutting each stem with a clean stroke and laying the flowers gently in your gathering basket. In the center of each blossom, a perfect droplet of dew has formed, not ordinary moisture, but a thick, silvery substance that catches the light like liquid moonbeams. You carefully tilt each flower to let this precious liquid drip into the silver bowl. The harvest complete, you carry your treasures back to the cottage, where you hang the stems in bunches from the rafters to dry. The silver bowl with its collected dew goes into a cool, dark corner, covered with a clean cloth. Your mother's notes indicate this dream dew is the most potent part of the plant, used only for the deepest dream work. As spring unfolds into early summer, your knowledge and practice of dream work deepens. The dried dream herb proves potent indeed. A tiny pinch added to your regular sleep charms creates experiences of remarkable clarity and significance. You use it sparingly, mindful of your mother's warning about the power of true dreams to heal or harm. Word of your skill continues to spread, bringing more people to your door seeking help with troubled sleep. Most come with ordinary concerns: insomnia, nightmares, the restlessness that comes with changing seasons. But occasionally, someone arrives with a deeper need, a grief that cannot be resolved in waking life, a decision too complex for daylight, reasoning, a wound to the spirit that requires dream healing. For these special cases, you create more sophisticated charms, incorporating tiny amounts of the dream herb and more complex intention patterns. You find yourself becoming what your mother was, not just an herbalist but a dream tender, someone who helps others navigate the mysterious terrain of sleep and what lies beyond it. Your father watches your growing practice with a mixture of pride and concern. "You have your mother's gift," he remarks one evening, as you prepare a charm for the miller's son, who walks in his sleep, and puts himself in danger. But remember her caution as well. Not all dreams should be called. Not all doors should be opened. You nod, appreciating both the acknowledgement and the warning. Dream work, you've learned, is like navigating a vast ocean, beautiful and rich with discovery, but not without its dangers. You've encountered enough in your own dream journeys to know that some regions of that ocean hide creatures and currents best avoided. As your skill grows, so does your understanding of what your mother meant when she spoke of healing dreams and true dreams. You learn to distinguish between ordinary dreams, the mind's nightly housekeeping, and those special dreams that carry messages from deeper sources, whether the dreamer's own unconscious wisdom or something more mysterious. You become adept at creating charms that invite specific types of dreams. Dreams of healing for the sick, dreams of clarity for the confused, dreams of comfort for the bereaved. Each requires different herbs, different intentions, different symbolic patterns sewn into the fabric. Throughout this growth, Elspeth remains your unexpected helper, sometimes receiving dream messages that guide your work. The bond between you deepens as you share this special knowledge, teaching her the basics of herbcraft while honoring her natural gift for dream communication. One evening, as you sit together sorting dried herbs, Elspeth asks a question that has clearly been on her mind for some time. Why do some people fear dream charms? Father says we must be careful who knows about them. You consider how to explain complex social and religious tensions to a child. People often fear what they don't understand. You begin carefully. And dreams belong to the world of mystery, things that can't be easily explained or controlled. The church teaches that guidance should come from priests and prayers, not from dreams and charms. But couldn't God speak through dreams too? Elspeth asks with a child's direct logic. In Father Thomas's stories, angels spoke to people in dreams. You smile at her perception. Yes, Scripture does tell of divine dreams, but some believe that only special people chosen by God should receive such dreams, not ordinary folk like us with herbs and charms. You pause, then add, and in truth, dream work does touch on old knowledge, older than the church in our land. Some see it as competing with their teachings. Elspeth considers this, her small hands continuing to separate chamomile flowers from their stems. Mother said dreams are like birds. They belong to no one. They fly where they wish, and they bring messages from far places. The metaphor strikes you as perfect, something you don't recall hearing from your mother, but that sounds exactly like her wisdom. Perhaps Elspeth truly does continue to receive teachings from beyond, or perhaps she has inherited the same poetic insight that made your mother such a gifted healer. Either way, you tuck the image away in your heart, another piece of wisdom to guide your growing practice. As summer approaches its fullness, your garden of medicinal herbs thrives. The special dream herb has produced a second, unexpected flowering, unusual for most plants, but perhaps normal for this mysterious species. Following your successful first harvest, you gather these new blossoms as well, adding to your precious store. With these resources and your deepening knowledge, you continue the work your mother began, preserving ancient dream wisdom while adapting it to present needs. You become known in the wider community as someone who understands sleep and its mysteries, who can craft charms to guide dreams toward healing purposes. Your father, seeing your commitment and skill, gradually shares more memories of your mother's practice, details he observed over their years together but rarely discussed. She believed, he tells you one evening, that dreams were not just pictures in the sleeping mind, but actual journeys of the soul. That's why she was so careful about creating safe paths through her charms. She saw herself as making protected roads through dangerous territory. This perspective illuminates aspects of your mother's work that you hadn't fully understood. The protective symbols she sewed into every charm, the specific arrangements of herbs, the whispered words of safe passage, all were designed not just to influence dreams, but to create secure channels for the dreaming soul's travels. You incorporate this understanding into your own practice, viewing each charm not just as a remedy, but as a map and guide for the dreamer's journey. The responsibility feels weighty but right, a continuation of ancient knowledge passed through generations of women who understood the vital importance of dreams in human life. And so your work continues season by season, dream by dream. In your garden, the special herbs flourish. In your hands, sleep charms take shape, each imbued with specific purpose. In your heart, your mother's wisdom lives on, guiding you through the mysterious landscape where waking and dreaming meet. Through your practice, the secret knowledge of medieval sleep charms remains alive, not as superstition but as practical wisdom, a gentle craft that honors the soul's need for healing beyond what daylight consciousness alone can provide. In a time of changing beliefs and forgotten magic, you keep this precious understanding alive, passing it on through your charms and, eventually, through teaching Elspeth as she grows. In this way, ancient wisdom continues its journey through time, adapting to new circumstances, but preserving its essential truth, that dreams are not merely shadows of waking life, but doorways to deeper understanding, and that those who know how to tend these doorways perform a service as old as humanity itself. And now this story draws to a close. Take a deep breath as we gently move forward in time into the next chapter of your journey. Like gossamer threads connecting realms of consciousness, time unfurls before you. The medieval forests recede as golden mosaics emerge, shimmering under candlelight. Byzantine whispers pull you forward into an empire where dreams were captured in silken tapestries, and sleep was a sacred passage guarded by ancient wisdom. You find yourself awakening to the gentle chime of silver bells, a sound so delicate it seems to exist between wakefulness and dreams. Your eyes open to a chamber unlike any you've known before. Walls, adorned with intricate mosaics, shimmer in the soft glow of oil lamps, tiny fragments of gold and lapis catching the light like stars in a midnight sky. The air is heavy with unfamiliar scents, frankincense mingling with rosewater and something else, something older and more mysterious that you cannot name. Constantinople, jewel of the Byzantine Empire, cradles you in its ancient embrace. The year is 842, and you have been drawn here, to this city where East meets West, where ancient wisdom and Christian devotion intertwine like the patterns in the silken tapestries adorning the walls. You are a guest in the household of Theodora, a noblewoman known throughout the city for her knowledge of sleep charms and dream interpretation. Your bed is unlike anything from your time, a raised wooden frame with a mattress stuffed with soft wool and fragrant herbs. The linens beneath your fingertips are silk, cool and smooth, dyed the deep purple of nobility. As you sit up, you notice a small icon hanging above your bed, the figures of Saints Cosmas and Damien, the physician saints watching over your slumber. A soft knock at the door breaks your contemplation. A young woman enters, her movements quiet and practiced. Her dark hair is covered partially with a silken veil, and she carries a silver tray bearing a small earthenware cup. "The Lady Theodora sends her greetings," she says, her Greek accent lilting and musical. She asks that you drink this before joining her. It will clear the fog of sleep from your mind. You accept the cup, warm against your palms, and breathe. In the aroma of honey, chamomile, and something citrus, perhaps orange blossom, the taste is sweet, with an underlying bitterness that lingers pleasantly on your tongue. As you dress in the garments laid out for you, a tunic of undyed linen and a mantle of soft blue wool, you feel a curious lightness. The morning light filtering through the alabaster window screens casts patterns across the floor, moving like water as clouds pass before the sun. You follow the servant through corridors lined with mosaics depicting saints and emperors, scenes from scripture and ancient, myths side by side. The household is already awake and bustling with quiet activity. Servants move purposefully through the corridors, their footsteps hushed on the marble floors. The scent of baking bread mingles with incense from the family's private chapel. You catch glimpses of inner courtyards where fountains sparkle in the morning light, and potted herbs grow in orderly rows. At last, you are led to a small garden enclosed by high walls covered in climbing roses and jasmine. At its center sits a woman of perhaps 50 years, her silver-streaked dark hair arranged in an elaborate style beneath a golden circlet. Her gown is deep blue, embroidered with golden thread at the hem and sleeves. She looks up as you approach, and her eyes, dark and keen, seem to look beyond your physical presence. "Welcome," she says, gesturing to a cushioned seat across from her. "I am Theodora. I have been expecting you, seeker of the ancient ways of sleep." Her voice carries the weight of authority, yet there is warmth in it too. You have traveled far, not just in distance, but in time. You settle onto the cushion, noting the small table between you. Upon it rests a collection of curious objects. A small silver box, several bundles of dried herbs tied with colored thread, smooth stones with symbols etched upon them, and a codex bound in leather. "In this age," she continues, "we understand, what many have forgotten in yours, that sleep is not merely absence, but a presence. It is a threshold between worlds, a sacred state where the soul may commune with higher realms or be vulnerable to darker influences." She opens the silver box, revealing a collection of tiny compartments, each filled with different substances: powders, dried flowers, seeds, and small crystals. "The Byzantium you see around you," she gestures to the city beyond the garden walls, "is a place of contradiction. We are Christians who revere the Christ and his saints, yet we have not abandoned the wisdom of ancients. We know that Morpheus still visits the dreamer, that Nyx still spreads her dark wings over those who seek rest." A servant approaches silently, placing a tray with a small pot of honey-sweetened tea and flat bread between you. Theodora nods her thanks and continues as she pours the fragrant liquid into 2 delicate cups. "You wish to learn of our sleep charms, the secret knowledge passed from the ancient world through our hands." She passes you a cup, watching as you accept it. "But first, you must understand that here, in the heart of the Eastern Roman Empire, sleep is not merely a necessity of the body. It is a ritual, an art, a sacred passage undertaken each night. The tea warms your hands and its aromatic steam rises to your face. Notes of mint, honey, and something more exotic that you cannot place. As you sip, you feel a gentle clarity spreading through your mind. The sounds of the garden become more distinct. Bees humming among the flowers, the soft splashing of the fountain, the distant calls of merchants in the streets beyond. "Tonight," Theodora says, "you will witness our rituals and perhaps understand why the Byzantines are known throughout the world. for the sweetness of our dreams and the depth of our rest. She smiles, the lines around her eyes deepening. But until then, let me show you how we prepare. She rises, beckoning you to follow her through an arched doorway into a cool, dim room. The walls here are painted with frescoes depicting night scenes, the moon riding high above mountains, figures in repose with peaceful expressions, angels watching over sleepers. Glass lamps hang from the ceiling on silver chains, their light soft and ambient. This is my workshop, Theodora explains. Here I create the remedies and charms that bring restful sleep to emperors and laborers alike. The room is lined with shelves holding countless vessels, glass bottles, ceramic jars, wooden boxes, each meticulously labeled in Greek script. A large work table dominates the center, its surface well worn and stained with the evidence of years of preparation. You notice several assistants working quietly at smaller tables. A young man grinds something in a marble mortar, his movements rhythmic and practiced. A woman carefully sews tiny pouches from squares of silk, her fingers nimble and sure. In Byzantium, Theodora continues, moving to a large cabinet inlaid with mother of pearl. We believe that sleep is influenced by many factors: the alignment of celestial bodies, the balance of humors in the body, the purity of one's thoughts, and the protection of saints. She withdraws a drawer filled with small medallions. These are sleep tokens, blessed by priests and inscribed with prayers to Saint John the Dreamer. You examine one she hands to you, a silver disc, no larger than a coin, warm to the touch despite the cool room. On one side is the image of a sleeping figure, on the other, Greek letters forming a prayer too small to read. This would be placed beneath the pillow, she explains, after being warmed in the hands and whispered to with the sleeper's hopes for peaceful dreams. Moving through the workshop, Theodora shows you the various preparations underway. For the emperor himself, she says with a hint of pride, indicating a crystal vial of dark liquid. A syrup of Damascus roses, honey from Mount Hymettus, and valerian root gathered during the full moon. 3 drops in warmed wine before sleep brings visions of divine guidance. For the next few hours, you observe the careful work of Theodora and her assistants. They prepare sleep charms for all levels of Byzantine society, from simple linen sachets filled with lavender and hops for common households, to elaborate dream pillows embroidered with gold thread and filled with rare herbs for noble houses. Azau, the afternoon light shifts through the alabaster window screens, casting longer shadows across the floor. Theodora guides you to a workstation. Now, she says, you shall prepare your own sleep charm, one that will connect you to this place and time even after your journey here ends. Under her guidance, your fingers select from dozens of ingredients: dried chamomile flowers for tranquility, rose petals for divine dreams, a pinch of nutmeg to ward off nightmares, small chips of frankincense to carry prayers heavenward. You fold these carefully into a square of deep blue silk, the color of the night sky. Now the most important element, Theodora says, handing you a small silver needle threaded with white silk. As you sew the charm closed, you must whisper your intention into it with each stitch. The power lies not just in the herbs and symbols, but in the mindfulness of creation. You feel slightly self-conscious at first, whispering to the bundle in your hands as you make careful stitches. But there is something meditative in the process. The rhythm of needle and thread, the focus of your thoughts, the subtle fragrances rising from the herbs, warming between your palms. When you finish, Theodora nods with approval. You have a natural affinity for this work, she says. The charm you have created would bring a good price in the markets of Constantinople. She helps you attach a thin silver cord so the sachet can be worn around the neck during sleep. Tonight, you will wear this, and it will protect your dreams. As evening approaches, you join Theodora's household for a simple meal in a dining chamber overlooking the Bosphorus. Through large windows, you watch ships with colored sails moving across the water, connecting the two halves of the city that straddles Europe and Asia. The meal consists of fresh bread dipped in olive oil, roasted lamb fragrant with rosemary, vegetables cooked with garlic and unfamiliar spices, and sweet wine that tastes of honey and sunshine. The conversation around the table flows in a mixture of Greek and Latin, occasionally pausing as someone translates a thought for your benefit. You learn that Theodora's husband is a high official in the imperial court, currently away on business in Thessalonica. Her 3 adult children include a son who is a priest, a daughter married to a silk merchant, and another daughter who assists in her mother's work with sleep charms. In some parts of the empire, the priest's son tells you, breaking off a piece of bread, the church frowns upon the ancient sleep practices as pagan superstition. But here in the capital, we understand that God works through many vessels. Did not Joseph interpret dreams for Pharaoh? Did not angels visit the sleeping apostles? Sleep is a divine gift, and to seek its peaceful depths is to honor the Creator. As darkness falls completely, oil lamps and beeswax candles are lit throughout the house. The atmosphere changes subtly. Voices grow softer, movements become more deliberate. You notice servants beginning a series of preparations that seem almost ritualistic. In noble houses of Byzantium, Theodora explains, noting your observation, the transition to sleep is not abrupt but gradual, a gentle descent rather than a sudden fall. We prepare body, mind, and spirit for the journey into night. You accompany her through the house as she oversees these preparations. In each bedchamber, servants turn down bedding and place fresh flowers in small vases. They light special lamps that burn scented oils, lavender, chamomile, and cedar. Small fountains or bowls of water are placed near beds, their gentle bubbling or still presence designed to calm the mind. In the family chapel, a priest, Theodora's son, blesses small cups of water that will be placed beside each bed, to ward off spiritual thirst that might wake the sleeper, she explains, and to remind us that even in sleep we may drink from divine wells. Most fascinating are the dream scrolls, small pieces of parchment upon which family members write their hopes for the night's dreams. These are rolled tightly, tied with colored thread corresponding to different intentions. Blue for prophetic, dreams, red for healing, green for prosperity, and placed under pillows. The ancient Greeks believed that dreams were visitations, messages from gods or the dead. Theodora tells you, as you watch her daughter carefully inscribe her own scroll, we believe they can be this, but also reflections of the soul's deepest needs or echoes of divine wisdom. By setting an intention, we invite beneficial dreams and discourage those that might disturb our rest. As the evening progresses, you notice the household growing quieter. Servants complete their tasks and retire to their quarters. Family members retreat to private rooms where they engage in personal rituals, reading from scripture, brushing hair with exactly 100 strokes, washing hands and face in rose water. Theodora leads you back to your chamber, now transformed by the evening preparations. The bed has been turned down, revealing sheets scented with lavender. A small oil lamp burns with a steady flame, casting soft shadows across the mosaic walls. A cup of blessed water sits on a small table beside the bed, alongside a tiny silver bell. The bell, Theodora explains when you inquire, is to summon help if needed, but also to ring softly if nightmares disturb you. The sound is believed to disperse negative energies. She helps you prepare for sleep according to Byzantine custom. First, you wash your hands and face in a basin of warm water infused with rose petals. The water is pleasantly silky against your skin, and its floral scent fills your nostrils as you pat your face dry with a soft linen cloth. Next, Theodora retrieves a small crystal bottle from a carved wooden box. Night oil, she explains, pouring a few drops onto her fingertips. She traces a cross on your forehead, the oil cool and fragrant. Myrrh, you think, with something citrus. To protect the gateway of thoughts, you change into the sleep garment provided, a simple linen shift, loose and comfortable. It has been stored with sprigs of dried herbs, giving it a pleasant, woody scent. As you settle onto the edge of the bed, Theodora places the sleep charm you created earlier around your neck. Now, she says, seating herself on a small stool beside you, I will share with you the dream chant of Byzantium. It has been passed down since the days of Constantine himself, and some say its origins are older still, reaching back to ancient Egypt through Alexandria's libraries. She begins to sing in a low, melodious voice, a tune that seems to hover between minor and major keys, creating a sense of peaceful suspension. The words are in Greek, but somehow you understand their meaning. Night embraces me, stars guide me, angels guard me, dreams teach me, dawn awaits me. The simple chant repeats, growing softer each time, until Theodora is merely whispering. Your eyelids grow heavy as the rhythmic words wash over you. The last thing you remember before drifting into sleep is Theodora gently placing a dream scroll beneath your pillow, one she prepared specially for you, bound with thread of gold and purple, the imperial colors. Your dreams that night are unlike any you've experienced before. They unfold like illuminated manuscripts, each scene flowing into the next, with brilliant colors and intricate details. You walk through Constantinople's streets as they were 1,000 years ago, witnessing the rituals of sleep undertaken in homes both grand and humble. You see families gathering to hear the patriarch read evening prayers before retiring. In humble dwellings, mothers trace protective symbols on children's foreheads with olive oil, while singing lullabies that praise saints and angels. In grander homes, servants burn special incense imported from distant lands, filling bedchambers, with smoke believed to carry the sleeper's consciousness to divine realms. In your dream, you visit the imperial palace itself, where the emperor's sleep is a matter of state importance. 7 eunuchs guard his bedchamber, each representing one of the classical planets. His pillows are stuffed with rare herbs gathered from across the empire: Egyptian lotus, Persian saffron, Indian sandalwood. A choir of monks sings sacred hymns in the adjacent chapel all through the night, their harmonies weaving a tapestry of sound to protect the imperial dreams. Most vivid is your vision of the dream market, a secret gathering held each new moon, in a hidden courtyard near the city walls. Here, dream interpreters read the night visions of their clients, prescribing remedies for troubling dreams or methods to recapture particularly auspicious ones. Sellers offer rare sleep aids, quicksilver amulets to place beneath pillows, specially bred white songbirds whose evening melodies induce peaceful slumber, papyrus scrolls inscribed with Coptic sleep prayers. When you awaken, the morning light is filtering through the alabaster screens, creating patterns like flowing water on the floor of your chamber. The sleep charm around your neck feels warm against your skin, and the dream scroll has unraveled beneath your pillow, a sign, according to Byzantine belief, that its purpose has been fulfilled. Theodora greets you in the garden where you first met, her eyes bright with anticipation. "Your face tells me the Byzantine knight treated you well," she says, pouring tea from a silver pot. "Your dreams were clear. As you describe what you saw in your night visions," she nods with satisfaction. "You have been granted a rare gift, to witness not just our practices, but their essence. The dream market you saw exists, though finding it requires certain connections." Her smile is conspiratorial. "Perhaps we might visit it together, if you wish to extend your stay in Constantinople." The day unfolds with new insights into Byzantine sleep traditions. Theodora takes you to visit a workshop where dream pillows are created for export throughout the Mediterranean world. The craftsmen work with silks from China, linen from Egypt, and wool from the empire's own flocks. Each fabric is chosen for specific properties: silk for prophetic dreams, linen for healing sleep, wool for deep, dreamless rest. The fillings are even more varied and specific. "This mixture is for merchants," explains the master craftsman, showing you a blend of dried herbs and small objects. Chamomile and mint for calm, a chip of lodestone to draw prosperity, a grain of frankincense for divine blessing, and 3 seeds from the tree of wisdom, cinnamon from Ceylon. Other pillows contain different combinations: lavender and rose for young brides hoping to dream of children, valerian and passion flower for those suffering grief, even special mixtures for generals before battle, designed to bring strategic visions. From there, Theodora takes you to the scriptorium of a nearby monastery, where monks copy ancient texts on sleep and dreams. Under the watchful eye of a grey-bearded brother, you are permitted to examine some of these precious works: Aristotle's On Sleep and Sleeplessness, Artemidorus's Onerocritica, and rarer volumes whose authors are unknown. Many of these texts survived the iconoclast purges only because they were hidden here, Theodora whispers as you marvel at the illuminated pages. Knowledge of sleep was considered too valuable to lose, even when it came from pagan sources. Most fascinating is a codex containing Byzantine adaptations of Egyptian dream hieroglyphs, visual symbols designed to influence the content of dreams. These would be painted on bedroom walls or woven into tapestries, Theodora explains. The sleeping mind absorbs their message without conscious effort. As afternoon fades toward evening, you visit a bathhouse where special chambers are dedicated to pre-sleep purification. The air is thick with steam infused with pine and eucalyptus. Attendants offer massages using oils consecrated to Morpheus, the ancient sleep deity whose worship has been transformed but not entirely abandoned in Christian Byzantium. The body must be prepared for sleep just as the mind and spirit, Theodora explains as you observe patrons moving through the various chambers. Tension in the physical form creates barriers to peaceful rest. These baths have existed since Roman times, but we Byzantines have perfected their use in sleep preparation. Evening brings you to a different part of Theodora's home, a tower, room with windows facing west. Here, you join her family in watching the sunset over the city, a Byzantine sleep ritual observed in many households. To witness day's end is to honor its passing, Theodora explains, as golden light bathes the domes and spires of Constantinople. We acknowledge that all things, light, wakefulness, life itself, must cycle into darkness before returning. This acceptance brings peaceful transition to sleep. As darkness falls once more, you participate fully in the household's sleep rituals. You write your own dream scroll, whispering your hopes for the night's visions as you roll the parchment and tie it with silk thread. You drink the special evening tisane, sweeter tonight with hints of honey and cinnamon. You listen as Theodora's son reads from the Psalms, his voice rising and falling in the candlelit chapel. When you finally retire to your chamber, Theodora presents you with gifts, a Byzantine sleep token cast in silver, a small vial of night, oil, and a leather-bound book containing sleep prayers and dream interpretations. These will connect you to our practices long after you have left this time and place, she says, her eyes knowing. For sleep is the one realm where all times may meet, where ancestors and descendants might share the same ethereal space, if only they know the proper pathways. She embraces you formally, kissing both cheeks in the Byzantine manner. Sleep well, traveller between worlds. May Byzantium's dreams follow you through the centuries. That night, your sleep is even deeper, more profound than before. The dreams come in waves of increasing clarity, visions of Byzantine sleep chambers throughout the empire, from humble farming villages to desert monasteries to seaside villas. You witness sleep rituals performed in countless variations, yet all connected by common threads of reverence and intention. In your final dream, you stand atop the great dome of Hagia Sophia as night falls over Constantinople. Below, thousands of lamps are being lit in homes across the city. Each represents a sleeper entering the realm that Byzantines consider sacred, a daily pilgrimage into the mysteries of consciousness. Theodora stands beside you in this dream, her face serene in the starlight. "Remember," she says, her voice seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "In your time, sleep has become a necessity to be endured rather than a realm to be explored. The ancient art of dream cultivation withers in an age of artificial light and constant noise, but it need not be lost entirely." She places something in your palm, a small golden key. The practitioners of peaceful sleep have always been the guardians of night's wisdom. Perhaps you too will become such a guardian. When you awaken on your final morning in Byzantine Constantinople, the dream key is gone, but its impression remains warm on your palm. Theodora seems unsurprised when you tell her of your dream atop Hagia Sophia. "The greatest secret of Byzantine sleep charms," she says, as you share a final cup of morning tea in her garden, "is that they are not truly charms at all, at least not in the way most believe. The herbs, the tokens, the scrolls, these are merely anchors for intention, focal points for the mind's own power." She takes your hands in hers, her touch light but firm. The true charm lies in approaching sleep as a sacred threshold rather than an unconscious fall. The rituals slow the mind's frantic pace. The preparations honor the journey. The prayers and symbols focus intention. But the power that comes from within the sleeper himself. As you prepare to depart, Theodora presents you with one final gift, a small mosaic depicting a sleeping figure surrounded by protective symbols. "This is you," she says, "as you appear now in the realm between waking and dreaming. Keep it as a reminder that you always stand at this threshold, even in your time." You thank her for all she has shared, knowing that your journey through Byzantine sleep traditions has changed how you will view the night hours for the rest of your life. As you take your leave, walking through the morning-lit streets of Constantinople, the weight of the sleep token around your neck reminds you of all you have learned. The Byzantine approach to sleep was not merely medical or spiritual, but a harmonious blend of both, recognizing that body, mind, and soul all required attention for truly restful slumber. Their sophisticated understanding of sleep hygiene, from proper bedding and air quality to pre-sleep activities and dietary considerations, was centuries ahead of its time. More importantly, they approached each night's rest not as an inconvenient necessity, but as an opportunity, a daily pilgrimage into sacred realms where healing, wisdom, and divine connection awaited the properly prepared traveler. As you make your final turn through the city streets, you pass a small workshop where an artisan is carefully crafting sleep tokens like the one you now wear. Through the open doorway, you hear him singing the same dream chant that Theodora taught you. Night embraces me, stars guide me, angels guard me, dreams teach me, dawn awaits me. The melody follows you as you continue your journey, a Byzantine lullaby echoing across the centuries. This part of your dream has ended, but your journey through history continues. As Byzantine whispers fade into memory, new scenes emerge before you. Courtyards filled with orange blossoms, fountains playing beneath moonlight, and the haunting call of the muezzin echoing over white-walled cities. The warm winds of Al-Andalus beckon you to discover the sleep wisdom of Islam's golden age, where science and mysticism intertwine like the geometric patterns adorning palace walls. The midday sun filters through intricately carved wooden screens, casting geometric shadows that dance across your outstretched fingers. You stand transfixed in the center of a courtyard in Granada, the year 1268, where the gentle babbling of fountains mingles with distant prayers echoing from minarets. The Alhambra rises around you, its walls telling stories of dynasties and dreams of secrets kept and wisdom shared across generations. You draw a deep breath, filling your lungs with air scented with orange blossoms and jasmine. This is Al-Andalus, where three great traditions, Islamic, Jewish, and Christian, have mingled their knowledge of sleep and dreams into a tapestry of healing practices unlike any other in medieval Europe. Your guide awaits by an archway carved with Arabic calligraphy, her dark eyes reflecting patience cultivated through decades of study. You have arrived at the perfect moment, she says, her voice melodious and low. Tonight is Laylat al-Qadr, the night of power, when the veil between waking and dreaming grows thin. Come. She beckons you forward, her hennaed hands moving with grace that speaks of her expertise as both healer and scholar. Her name is Fatima al-Andalusi, renowned throughout the region for her knowledge of sleep remedies that combine the ancient Greek traditions preserved in Arabic translations with local Andalusian practices and the whispered secrets of Jewish mystics. The soles of your feet press against cool marble tiles as you follow her through shadowed corridors that open suddenly into a sun-drenched garden. In Al-Andalus, she explains, pausing beside a reflecting pool where golden fish dart between lily pads. We understand that sleep is not merely the absence of wakefulness, but a different state of being, one where the soul may wander and receive guidance. Her fingers trail in the water, sending ripples across the surface that distort your reflection. Our sleep charms work not through superstition, but through harmony with the body's natural rhythms and the soul's connection to the divine. You notice Fatima wears a small silver pendant at her throat, geometric patterns etched into its surface surrounding a central blue stone. Following your gaze, she touches it lightly. My own Nashra, my sleep talisman. Each one is unique to its wearer. By the day's end, you will understand how to create one. The garden opens into a larger courtyard, where apprentices tend to beds of herbs arranged in perfect symmetry. The mathematical precision of the garden's design strikes you immediately. Nothing is random here, every plant placed according to a pattern that seems to follow some hidden logic. The scents blend and separate as you pass. The sharp clarity of rosemary, the earthiness of valerian root, the subtle sweetness of chamomile. The garden itself is a sleep charm, Fatima says, noting your appreciation of the design. The precise, geometric patterns calm the mind by creating order from chaos. Our scholars have studied how certain shapes affect the human spirit, just as certain musical notes resonate within the body. She leads you to a small workshop adjacent to the garden, where the air is cool and dim. Shelves line the walls, holding clay jars of various sizes, glass bottles containing liquids of amber and indigo, bundles of dried herbs hanging from the ceiling, and small metal boxes labeled in flowing Arabic script. The creation of sleep charms begins with understanding that sleep lies at the intersection of four elements: physical comfort, mental peace, spiritual harmony, and environmental balance. Fatima gestures to a low table where several items are carefully arranged. A small cushion embroidered with silver thread, a ceramic bowl containing oil, several dried plant specimens, a delicate brush, and tools for metalwork. First, she says, we create the physical vessel for quieting the body. She passes you the cushion. As your fingers trace the embroidery, you realize the silver threads form verses from poetic texts, their curves and lines creating a hypnotic pattern. This is filled with specific combinations of herbs: lavender from the mountains, chamomile from our gardens, and hops brought by traders from the north. But the true power comes from the embroidery itself. She points to the pattern. These are verses from Ibn Sina's writings on sleep, combined with poetry that soothes the mind. The act of reading these words, even silently with your fingers, guides the mind toward tranquility. You lift the cushion to your face, breathing in the subtle aroma, not overpowering, but present enough to transport your thoughts to peaceful meadows. The fabric itself is soft against your skin, inviting touch in a way that makes your eyelids feel heavier. The cushion is placed near the head during sleep, but never directly beneath it, Fatima explains. Our bodies must remain properly aligned for the channels of dream wisdom to flow unobstructed. She then takes up a small bronze, mortar and pestle, its surface patinated with age and use. Now, for mental peace, the scents that guide the mind to quietude. Into the mortar, she places dried rose petals, a pinch of saffron threads that catch the light like golden hair, and several small dark seeds you don't recognize. Orange flower water, jasmine, and musk. These open the pathways of pleasant dreams, she says, grinding the mixture with practiced motions. But most crucial is this. She adds a few drops of oil from a tiny vial, oil of violet, which Ibn Sina himself prescribed for those whose minds race at night with unwelcome thoughts. The aroma that rises from the mortar is complex and layered, sweet yet grounded, floral yet somehow reminiscent of warm skin. You close your eyes involuntarily, finding yourself taking deeper breaths. You feel it already, she observes with a smile in her voice. The body recognizes what brings it peace, even before the mind can name it. She transfers the mixture into a small clay vessel with a narrow neck. This will be kept by the bedside, opened only at the moment of sleep preparation. The ritual of uncorking it signals to the body that rest approaches. Outside, the call to afternoon prayer rises from the city below. Fatima pauses in her work, closing her eyes briefly in acknowledgement. When the call fades, she continues. For spiritual harmony, we must create something that connects the sleeper to forces beyond the physical world. From a carved wooden box, she removes a sheet of parchment and a reed pen. With fluid motions, she begins to write in Arabic script. the letters flowing into one another like water finding its natural course. These are verses that speak of night's blessings, she explains as she writes. Some from the Quran, others from Jewish texts that speak of sleep as 1/60th of death, a reminder that in sleep we practice the ultimate surrender that awaits us all. And here, she adds several lines in a different style. Words from Christian monks who view dreams as potential messages from their God. When she finishes writing, she sprinkles the ink with fine sand to dry it, then folds the parchment in a precise pattern, creating a small square. This she wraps in a piece of blue silk, tying it with silver thread. This is placed beneath the sleeping mat, directly under where the heart rests. The wisdom of these sacred texts rises through dreams, even if one cannot read the words themselves. She places the small bundle in your palm. It weighs almost nothing, yet somehow feels substantial, as though the words themselves have mass. And finally, Fatima says, guiding you back toward the courtyard garden, environmental balance. The late afternoon light has softened, casting longer shadows across the geometric patterns of the tile work. No sleep charm works in isolation from its surroundings. She leads you to a corner of the garden where water flows from a small fountain shaped like a stylized tree, its branches creating a delicate pattern of falling droplets. The sound is mesmerizing, water over stone, creating a rhythm so subtle it seems to match your heartbeat. Water that moves in gentle patterns creates sound that lulls the mind, Fatima explains. In grand homes, fountains are designed specifically for their sound properties. For those with humbler dwellings, we create small water vessels that drip through the night, creating the same effect. She shows you a ceramic device with 2 chambers connected by a narrow channel. Water passes slowly from one vessel to another, drop by drop, creating a sound like gentle rain. The rate of flow is calculated to last precisely from dusk until dawn. As twilight approaches, Fatima invites you to join her for a simple meal in a small dining chamber overlooking the city. The windows are open to catch the evening breeze, which carries the mingled scents of cooking fires, night-blooming jasmine, and the distant sea. Sleep remedies extend to what we consume before rest, she explains, offering you a cup of warm milk infused with honey, cardamom, and saffron. This recipe comes to us from Persian physicians who understood the calming properties of warm milk, but enhanced it with spices that ease digestion during sleep. The drink is silky on your tongue, the sweetness balanced by the aromatic spices. With the meal, she serves flatbread, soft cheese, and almonds soaked in rose water. Light but satisfying. Hunger disrupts sleep, but so does a stomach too heavily burdened. As you eat, Fatima shares stories of her training, how she studied the works of Ibn Sina and Al-Razi, Greek medical texts preserved and expanded upon by Islamic scholars, and the practical wisdom passed down through generations of women healers. In my youth, she says, her eyes reflecting the first evening stars appearing outside, I traveled to Damascus and Cairo to study their sleep traditions. Each region has its own wisdom, influenced by climate and culture. She smiles at a distant memory. In Damascus, they believe the direction one's head points during sleep affects the quality of dreams. In Cairo, they use pillows stuffed with specific combinations of herbs that change with the seasons. Night falls fully as you finish your meal. Fatima lights oil lamps whose glass chimneys are tinted different colors: amber, pale blue, soft green. The quality of light affects sleep. Preparation, she explains. Harsh white light signals to the body that it is still day. These colors tell the body that night has come, that rest is appropriate. She leads you up a narrow staircase to a small rooftop garden. where cushions are arranged around a low table. Above, the stars shine with remarkable clarity in the desert-influenced climate of Andalusia. You can make out constellations you recognize and others that are unfamiliar. Sleep and dreams have always been connected to the stars, Fatima says, settling onto a cushion and inviting you to do the same. The ancient Greeks believed that dreams came from the gates of horn and ivory. Our astronomers have mapped how certain celestial alignments affect the quality of sleep. From a pouch at her waist, she produces a small astrolabe, its brass surface catching the lamplight. This is not merely for navigation. It tells us which stars influence sleep on any given night. Her fingers adjust the instrument with practiced precision. Tonight, Venus is ascendant, bringing dreams of beauty and harmony. She sets aside the astrolabe and unrolls a small carpet woven with metallic threads that glimmer in the lamplight. Now I will show you how to create your own nashra, your sleep talisman. From various pouches and boxes, she brings forth materials: thin sheets of silver, small semi-precious stones, tools for etching and shaping. The talisman must be personal. To be effective, she explains, it must reflect your own nature and the specific sleep challenges you face. She asks you questions about your sleep, when it comes easily, and when it eludes you, what thoughts keep you awake, what dreams you wish to invite or avoid. As you speak, her fingers begin working the silver, cutting a small disc and etching it with patterns that somehow seem to visualize your own words. The pattern creates harmony, she explains. Our philosophers have discovered that certain geometric designs resonate with the human spirit, creating order where there is chaos, calm where there is agitation. Into the center of the pattern, she sets a small stone the color of twilight, deep blue with hints of purple. Lapis lazuli, she says. It connects the earthly with the celestial, the perfect bridge for dreams. As she works, she begins to sing softly, a lullaby in a dialect you don't recognize, its melody moving in gentle circles like the patterns she etches into the silver. The combination of her voice, the starlight above, and the gentle night breeze creates a profound sense of peace that settles over you like a weightless blanket. When the talisman is complete, she threads it onto a silk cord. This is worn during sleep, resting at the hollow of the throat where breath passes, or held in the hand if dreams become troubled. She hands you the completed nashra. It feels cool against your palm, the etched surface creating a pleasant texture against your skin. Despite its simple appearance, it seems to hold a presence beyond its physical form. But know this, Fatima says, her expression growing serious. The physical charm is merely the vessel. The true power comes from the rituals surrounding it and the intention with which it is used. She rises and gestures for you to follow her back down to a small chamber that has been prepared for the night. A sleeping mat covered with fine linen sits in the center, positioned so that the night breeze flows across it. The water clock has been placed in one corner, its gentle dripping already establishing a soothing rhythm. Now I will teach you the ritual of sleep preparation, as practiced in the finest houses of Cordoba and Granada, Fatima says. She shows you how to prepare the sleeping chamber, how the mat should be positioned relative to the direction of Mecca, the careful arrangement of the cushions, the precise distance of the scent vessel from the head. The body should be aligned with the earth's natural forces, she explains. Head to the north, feet to the south, allowing the body's humors to flow properly during rest. From a ceramic pitcher, she pours rose water into a basin and demonstrates the ritual washing before sleep. First the hands, then the face, then the feet. Water from the day is carried into sleep through the skin, she says. Rose water cools the blood and calms the spirit. Next comes the preparation of the body. She shows you how to apply scented oil to specific points. Behind the ears, at the temples, at the wrists, where the pulse beats close to the surface. These are the gateways where scent enters most directly into the body's systems, she explains. Then she demonstrates the gentle stretching movements that release tension from the body. These come from ancient Indian traditions, brought to us through Persian texts, she says, as she slowly rotates her wrists, then her ankles, then rolls her shoulders in deliberate circles. The body carries the day's tensions like pebbles in a pouch. Each movement releases one pebble until the pouch is empty and ready for sleep. Finally, she sits cross-legged beside the sleeping mat and shows you the breathing technique used to invite sleep. 7 counts in through the nose, drawing breath deep into the belly, she demonstrates, her body expanding slightly. Hold for 4 counts, allowing the breath to fill every corner of your being. Then 8 counts out through the mouth, releasing all thoughts with the breath. The sound of her exhalation is like a gentle wind through distant trees. Repeat this 7 times, and with each cycle, imagine yourself descending a staircase of 7 steps, each step taking you deeper into tranquility. Outside, the night has deepened. Through the latticed window, you can see the crescent moon hanging above the Alhambra's towers. The air has cooled, carrying the scent of night-blooming flowers and the distant sounds of the city settling into sleep. In Al-Andalus, Fatima says quietly, we believe that sleep is a small death, and dreaming is a journey of the soul. How we prepare for this journey determines what wisdom we bring back from it. She places a small scroll beside your sleeping mat. These are the dream interpretations of Ibn Sirin, the greatest of all dream scholars. Read a passage before sleep, and it will guide your dream journeys. You unroll the scroll carefully. The Arabic script flows across the page like a river of ink, interspersed with illustrations of celestial bodies and symbolic figures. Though you cannot read the text, the illustrations alone create a sense of narrative, a journey through symbolic landscapes of the mind. Dreams come in 3 types, Fatima explains. Those from the divine, which bring guidance, those from the self, which bring understanding, and those from the shaitan, which bring only confusion. The preparation rituals help invite the first 2 kinds and guard against the third. She shows you how different gems and metals are believed to influence dreams. Amethyst protects against nightmares. Silver invites prophetic dreams. Gold strengthens the memory of dreams upon waking. As midnight approaches, Fatima prepares to leave you to your rest. There is one more thing, she says, reaching into her robe to produce a small instrument. A sort of miniature lyre with 7 strings. This is the sleep harp of Al-Andalus. Its music creates bridges between wakefulness and sleep. She plucks the strings gently, creating a haunting melody that seems to exist somewhere between music and pure sound. The notes hang in the air, each one fading slowly before the next begins, creating a sense of time stretching and slowing. In the courts of the caliphs, she explains between notes, musicians would play through the night, guiding the dreams of nobility. Each progression of notes corresponds to a stage of sleep, encouraging the mind to descend properly through each level. The melody shifts, becoming somehow deeper, more hypnotic. You feel your consciousness beginning to drift with the music, your awareness expanding and contracting with each note. Music speaks directly to the soul, Fatima says, her voice seeming to come from increasingly far away. It bypasses the thinking mind and touches the part of us that knows how to surrender to sleep. She continues playing for some time, the melody weaving patterns as intricate and mathematical as the geometric designs that adorn the palace walls. Gradually, she introduces subtle variations that make the music feel like it's spiraling gently downward, drawing your consciousness with it. When she finally stops playing, the silence feels rich and dimensional, as though the music continues in some inaudible form. "Keep the harp beside you," she says, placing the small instrument within your reach. "If you wake in the night, a single plucked string will guide you back to sleep." With graceful movements, Fatima lights a special oil lamp designed for sleep. Its flame enclosed in colored glass that casts a blue-green glow like moonlight filtered through water. "This will burn through the night," she explains. "Its light is of the correct color and intensity to not disrupt sleep if you should open your eyes, and the oil is infused with essence of lavender and cedar." She moves toward the door, then pauses. "One last teaching," she says. The people of Al-Andalus believe that the moment between wakefulness and sleep is sacred, a threshold where wishes may be planted like seeds in fertile soil. As you feel yourself drifting towards sleep, hold one clear intention in your mind. The depth of sleep will water this seed, and it may sprout in your waking life. With those words, she bows slightly and exits, closing the door with barely a sound. You are left alone in the chamber, surrounded by the gentle dripping of the water clock, the subtle fragrance of the scent vessel, the soft blue-green glow of the special lamp. You settle onto the sleeping mat, positioning your body as Fatima demonstrated. The linen feels cool and smooth against your skin. You place the Nashra talisman at your throat, feeling its weight like an anchor connecting you to this place and time. Beginning the breathing technique, 7 counts in, hold for 4, 8 counts out. You feel each breath drawing you further from wakefulness. With each exhale, the day's thoughts seem to float away like leaves on a stream. By the 3rd breath cycle, you notice how the geometric patterns on the ceiling begin to softly pulse and flow in rhythm with your breathing. By the 5th cycle, the boundaries between your body and the surrounding space begin to blur pleasantly. By the 7th, you are drifting at the threshold Fatima described, that sacred space between worlds. As instructed, you hold a single intention in your mind. A question about your life's purpose, perhaps, or a wish for healing for someone you love. Then you surrender completely, crossing the threshold into sleep. Your dreams that night are unlike any you've experienced before. They unfold with a clarity and purpose that feels guided, as though the various elements of Fatima's sleep system are working in concert to navigate your dream self through meaningful landscapes. You dream of gardens where each plant speaks in whispers, sharing forgotten wisdom. You dream of ascending a spiral staircase within a tower made of stars. You dream of writing with ink that changes color with each word, creating a text that can be read simultaneously in multiple languages. Throughout these dreams, you remain partially aware, not enough to control the dreams, but enough to observe them with wonder and to remember them upon waking. The Nashra at your throat pulses gently with each new dream scene, as though marking these moments for memory. When you wake with the dawn call to prayer, you feel a clarity and restoration that goes beyond physical rest. The chamber is bathed in the gentle light of early morning, the special lamp having burned through the night as promised. On a small table that wasn't there the night before, you find a light breakfast, fresh figs, almond paste sweetened with honey, and a tisane of herbs that Fatima has left to complete the sleep ritual. A note in her elegant handwriting explains that breaking the fast properly is as important as preparing for sleep. The body must be gently coaxed back to full wakefulness. As you sip the tisane, mint with subtle notes of citrus, you reflect on the comprehensive nature of the Andalusian approach to sleep. It isn't merely about falling unconscious, but about creating an entire journey from wakefulness through dreams and back again, each stage carefully tended with specific practices. Fatima returns as you finish your breakfast. "Your eyes tell me you have journeyed well," she says with a knowing smile. "Now we must complete your education in the sleep arts of Al-Andalus." She leads you to a different part of the complex, a small library where scrolls and bound manuscripts line the walls. In neat compartments, the morning light streams through colored glass windows, creating pools of amber and sapphire on the tiled floor. The knowledge of sleep is preserved in texts from many traditions, she explains, carefully removing a bound volume from one shelf. This is the Kitab al-Manafi al-Naum, the Book of the Benefits of Sleep, compiled by scholars here in Cordoba over 3 generations. She opens the book to reveal pages of beautiful Arabic script, interspersed with detailed illustrations of sleeping positions, celestial charts, anatomical diagrams of the human head, and botanical drawings of sleep-inducing plants. Our understanding of sleep is both spiritual and scientific, she says, turning pages carefully. We study how the position of stars affects dreams, yes, but also how the flow of blood to the brain changes during different sleep phases. She points to a diagram showing 4 concentric circles, each labeled with Arabic text. This illustrates Ibn Sina's theory of the 4 levels of sleep. The outermost circle is the lightest sleep, where one remains partially aware of surroundings. The innermost circle is the deepest sleep, where the soul may communicate directly with the divine. Another page shows various sleeping positions, with notations beside each illustration. How one positions the body affects which organs receive the most blood during sleep, Fatima explains. Sleeping on the right side aids digestion. Sleeping on the left eases the heart's burden. Sleeping on the back invites prophetic dreams, but also the possibility of nightmares. She turns to a section filled with recipes for sleep preparations. These are the secret formulations handed down through generations of sleep healers, she says. Some are simple, lavender and rose oil mixed in precise proportions. Others are complex, requiring ingredients from distant lands and preparations that take months to complete. One illustration catches your attention, a sleeping chamber designed with mathematical precision. Every element from the height of the ceiling to the position of the windows calculated to create optimal conditions for rest. The architecture of sleep is as important as its chemistry, Fatima notes, seeing your interest. The sleeping chambers of the Alhambra are designed according to principles of sacred geometry that promote harmonious rest. She closes the book carefully and returns it to its shelf, then selects another, smaller, older, its binding showing signs of frequent handling. And this, she says with reverence, contains the dream interpretation system of Ibn Sirin, expanded upon by our own scholars. This book is more densely written, with fewer illustrations. The pages you can see contain tables and what appear to be alphabetized entries. Every symbol that appears in dreams is catalogued here, with interpretations that change depending on the dreamer's circumstances and the symbol's context. A white bird in the dream of a prisoner signifies forthcoming freedom, Fatima translates from one entry. The The same white bird in the dream of a sailor portends favorable winds. In the dream of a physician, it warns of a patient hovering between life and death. She runs her finger down a column of text. These interpretations are not arbitrary, but based on centuries of collected dream accounts and their subsequent manifestations in waking life. As morning advances toward midday, Fatima takes you to meet other sleep specialists within the Alhambra complex. An herbalist who grows plants specifically for their sleep properties. An artisan who creates specialized pillows designed to align the spine and neck properly during sleep. A musician who has devoted his life to composing melodies that guide the sleeping mind through beneficial dream states. In the herbalist's garden, you learn how certain plants are harvested only during specific lunar phases to maximize their sleep-inducing properties. The herbalist, an elderly man with hands stained green from decades of work with plants, shows you how to identify the subtle differences between varieties of chamomile, some better for calming an agitated mind, others more effective for easing physical discomfort that disrupts sleep. We create sleep remedies specific to each person's needs, he explains, crushing a leaf between his fingers and inviting you to inhale its aroma. Those with excess heat in their constitution require cooling herbs like rose and violet. Those with excess cold need warming herbs like ginger and cardamom. The pillow artisan, a woman whose fingers move with remarkable dexterity, demonstrates how she measures the exact distance from a person's shoulder to their ear to create a pillow that maintains proper alignment. A difference of even the width of a finger can transform restless sleep into profound rest, she says, showing you pillows filled with different materials, some with buckwheat hulls for those who sleep hot, others with special silk floss for those with sensitive skin. In her workshop, you see pillows being embroidered with verses selected specifically for their owners, calming texts for the anxious, inspiring passages for those seeking guidance, protective phrases for those troubled by nightmares. The musician, a young man, with eyes that seem to focus on something distant even as he speaks to you, explains the modal system used in sleep music. Each maqam, each musical mode, corresponds to a different quality of consciousness, he says, demonstrating on a stringed instrument similar to the one Fatima played the night before. This mode, Nahawand, induces calm reflection before sleep. He plays a haunting progression that immediately creates a sense of gentle melancholy, while this one, Rast, promotes dreams of clarity and insight. The new melody feels more structured, creating a sense of direction and purpose. As midday approaches, you return with Fatima to the courtyard where your journey began. The sun now stands directly overhead, eliminating shadows and creating a moment of perfect balance between morning and afternoon. You have seen only a glimpse of our knowledge of sleep, she says, but perhaps enough to understand that in Al-Andalus, we view sleep not as a mere necessity or vulnerability, but as a sacred state worthy of our deepest attention and care. She presents you with a small wooden box inlaid with mother-of-pearl in geometric patterns. Inside is everything needed to create the sleep ritual as I have taught you, she says. The Nashra talisman you created, herbs for the scent vessel, the sleep harp, and scrolls with the necessary prayers and breathing instructions. As you accept the gift, she places her hand briefly over yours. Remember that the most powerful element in any sleep charm is intention. The physical tools are merely bridges to the state of surrender that true sleep requires. The afternoon passes in further conversations and demonstrations. You learn how the position of beds in relation to the cardinal directions affects dream content, how specific fabrics promote or hinder restful sleep depending on the season, how even the material of drinking vessels, glass, clay, silver, or gold, can influence the quality of sleep that follows. As evening approaches again, Fatima leads you to a different part of the Alhambra, a tower room with windows facing west toward the setting sun. The walls here are covered with astronomical charts and tables correlating celestial positions with dream tendencies. Tonight, she says, you will experience the most potent of our sleep rituals, one reserved for the night of power, when dreams are believed to be especially significant. When she reaches you, her pale blue eyes, clouded slightly with age but still piercing, meet yours. You are new to our ways, she says, not unkindly. Your soul is unpracticed in the dreaming. From a pouch at her belt, she produces a small wooden disc, no larger than a child's palm. Upon its surface, intricate patterns have been carved, swirling lines and angular shapes that seem both random and deliberate. In the center sits a symbol you recognize as Odin's knot, 3 triangles interlocked. This is a dream anchor, she explains, placing it beside your pillow of sweet hay covered with soft furs. When the long night takes hold and your soul begins to wander, this will guide you back. The wood feels warm against your fingertips as you touch it, smoother than it should be, as though countless hands have worn away its roughness over many generations. Around you, the other inhabitants of the longhouse are preparing for sleep. Children are tucked beneath thick furs, their eyelids already heavy, despite their whispered protests that they are not tired. Men and women who spent the short daylight hours fishing through holes in the ice or tending to winter stores now settle onto their bedrolls, their bodies grateful for rest. An old man across the room begins to hum a tune, low and without words, but with a melody that seems to sink into your bones. Others join, some with soft, wordless harmonies, others with words in the old Norse tongue that you are still learning. You understand enough to know this is a sleep song, a charm against the dangers of the night and the perils of unguarded dreams. Inai, the north, Astrid says, settling herself beside you with a soft groan as her aged joints protest. Sleep is not merely rest for the body, it is a journey for the soul. Her fingers, impossibly gentle despite their knotted appearance, trace the patterns on the dream anchor. We believe that while the body rests, the soul may wander. Some souls travel to Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge, and glimpse the halls of the gods. Others may visit loved ones far away, or see events yet to come. You feel a shiver that has nothing to do with the cold. And is there danger in this wandering? Her smile is knowing, tinged with the wisdom of many winters. Always. A soul untethered may lose its way, or be lured by those who wish it harm. The Dökkalfar, the dark elves, may seek to trap a dreaming soul with beautiful illusions. Or, worse, the Draugr, the restless dead who envy the living, may try to possess an empty vessel while its soul is away. The fire pops loudly, sending a cascade of sparks up the central chimney hole. Someone shushes a frightened child, whispering reassurances that the fire spirits are friendly guardians, not harbingers of harm. This is why we have dream anchors, Astrid continues, and sleep songs, and the rituals of safe dreaming. She reaches into another pouch and pulls out a small bundle of dried herbs, lavender, chamomile, and something with a deeper, earthier scent. These are gathered at midsummer, when the sun barely sets, and dried in the smoke of sacred woods. She tucks the bundle beneath your pillow. Their power will help guide your dreams toward peace. Outside, The wind howls with renewed vigor, rattling the wooden shutters. Despite the storm's fury, the longhouse remains surprisingly warm, heated by the central fire and the bodies of 30 souls preparing for sleep. The air is rich with scents. Wood smoke, the lingering aroma of the evening's fish stew, the sweet tang of fermented berries, the earthy smell of unwashed bodies softened by herbal sachets tucked among clothing and bedding. Astrid begins to speak, again, her voice dropping to a murmur that forces you to lean closer. When the Christians came with their new God, they tried to take our dream wisdom. They said dreams were either divine messages from their God or temptations from their devil. She makes a gesture with her fingers that you understand is to ward off evil. But our people have known for thousands of winters that dreams are neither wholly good nor evil. They are pathways, journeys, messages from parts of ourselves that only speak in the language of sleep. A young woman across the longhouse rises and adds another log to the central fire. As she does, she whispers something to the flames, a prayer or perhaps a simple thanks. The firelight catches on a pendant at her throat, a small silver hammer, Thor's symbol, worn as protection. Now, Astrid says, patting your hand, I will teach you the sleep verses. They must be spoken 3 times before you close your eyes. She begins to chant softly, words flowing like water over stones. Odin's ravens guard my sight. Frigg's hands cradle my rest. Thor's hammer shields my soul tonight. As to dream paths I am blessed. You repeat the words, feeling them strange yet somehow right upon your tongue. The Old Norse language has a rhythm that reminds you of waves against the shore, of wind through pine branches. Good, she nods approvingly. Now, as you prepare for sleep, you must lie on your right side first, with the dream anchor touching your forehead. Count your breaths to 9 times 9, then turn to your left side to invite the dreams to enter. Around the longhouse, people are already following these rituals. You watch as a father helps his young daughter place a tiny carved wooden sword beside her pillow. To fight bad dreams, he tells her, with tender seriousness. An elderly man carefully arranges 3 feathers in a specific pattern beside his bed, whispering to each one before lying down. Astrid's eyes follow your gaze. Each person's dream needs are different, she explains. The young need protection from fears that would disturb their rest. The old need help remembering their dreams, for in them lie memories that must not be lost. Warriors need peaceful dreams to heal their battle spirits. Mothers need dreams that let them rest deeply, yet still hear their children's cries. She stands with careful movements, her joints crackling softly. Tonight, stranger from distant shores, may your dreams be kind. With that benediction, she moves away, continuing her rounds through the longhouse, stopping to adjust a child's blanket here, whisper a reminder of dream verses there. You settle onto your bedroll, arranging the furs around you. Despite the comfort they provide, there's a prickling sensation at the back of your neck, the awareness that tonight you will be attempting something new. Not just sleep as you've always known it, but a guided journey through realms unseen. Following Astrid's instructions, you lie on your right side, placing the dream anchor against your forehead. The wood feels warmer than before, almost alive against your skin. You begin counting your breaths, 1, 2, 3, focusing on the sensation of air filling your lungs and then departing, carrying away the tensions of the day. The longhouse sounds recede slightly. The crackle of the fire becomes distant. The soft snoring of those already asleep fades. The occasional cough or whisper seems to come from much farther away than it truly is. By the count of 18, your limbs feel heavy, as though they're sinking into the earth beneath the floorboards. By 36, the boundaries between your body and the furs wrapped around you seem less distinct. By 54, thoughts begin to loosen and float. Disconnected images and fragments of the day drifting through your consciousness like leaves on a stream. At 81 breaths, you carefully turn to your left side as instructed. The dream anchor slips from your forehead to rest beside your pillow, but its warmth seems to linger on your skin. The herbs beneath your pillow release their subtle fragrance with each movement, enveloping you in their protective scent. Sleep approaches like a gentle tide, each wave carrying you a little further from the shores of wakefulness. You murmur the sleep verses once more, the words slurring slightly as consciousness begins to ebb. Odin's ravens guard my sight, Frigg's hands cradle my rest. The next words dissolve as you slip beneath the surface of sleep. Yet somehow, unlike your usual descent into unconsciousness, a part of you remains aware, watching, observing, as your soul prepares for its nocturnal journey. You find yourself standing in a forest unlike any you've seen before. The trees reach impossibly, high, their trunks wider than houses, their bark silver in the strange half-light. Snow blankets the ground, pristine and untouched, yet you feel no cold. Looking down, you see your body appears slightly translucent, with a faint luminescence outlining your form. The dream has taken you, comes a voice, and you turn to see Astrid, yet not quite Astrid. Here, she stands straight and tall, her silver hair flowing freely, her face bearing fewer lines, though the ancient wisdom in her eyes remains unchanged. This is your first true Nordic dream journey. What is this place? You ask, your voice sounding different, resonating with undertones that echo among the massive trees. This is Mørkvjord, the dark wood that exists between worlds, she responds. A dangerous place for the unprepared, but necessary to cross for those who would learn the deeper dreams. She gestures to a barely visible path winding between the towering trunks. Follow me, and step only where I step. The dream paths shift and change for each dreamer. As you follow Astrid through this strange forest, you notice details that defy ordinary experience. Snowflakes hang suspended in the air, not falling, but drifting sideways or even upward. Occasionally, you glimpse movements at the corner of your vision, quick, darting shapes that vanish when directly observed. The light has no discernible source, yet shadows fall in impossible directions, sometimes stretching toward bright areas, rather than away from them. The ancients believed that dreams were not merely images in the sleeping mind, Astrid explains as she walks, her feet making no impression in the snow, but actual journeys taken by the soul. The body remains in Midgard, the middle realm, the world of humans, while the soul may travel to any of the 9 worlds connected by Yggdrasil, the world tree. She pauses, pointing to a massive root that arches over the path before plunging back into the earth. We walk now along one of Yggdrasil's smaller roots. The great tree connects all realms, from Asgard, home of the Aesir gods, to Hel's domain of the dead. Most dreamers only glimpse these paths briefly, catching fragments and symbols they struggle to remember upon waking. You step carefully over the root, feeling a strange vibration through your ethereal form as you do, as though the root recognizes your passing. And the dream anchors, how do they work in this place? Astrid smiles. Look at your hand. You raise your palm and are surprised to see the same intricate pattern from the wooden disc, now glowing softly on your skin. the lines etched in light rather than wood. The anchor remains with your physical form, but its essence travels with your soul, she explains. It helps you remember the way back, prevents you from wandering too far into realms from which return would be difficult. Without such protection, some dreamers become lost, their bodies falling into a sleep from which they never wake. This explanation sends a shiver through your ethereal form. Has that happened? People becoming lost? Astrid's expression grows, solemn. Yes. In the harshest winters, when the darkness seems eternal and the cold seeps into one's bones, the temptation to remain in dreams can be overwhelming. Some choose not to return to their suffering bodies. Others are tricked or trapped by entities that dwell in these in-between places. She gestures to a hollow in a nearby tree where something moves. Something with too many limbs and eyes that reflect light like a cat's. Not all dream dwellers are benevolent. The Dökalfar, dark elves, collect dreams as a miser collects coins, hoarding the experiences and emotions of dreamers. They may offer visions of such beauty or pleasure that the dreamer wishes to remain forever. As if hearing its name, the creature in the hollow emerges slightly, slender and shadow dark, with features too fluid to properly discern. It makes a sound like wind through bare branches before retreating deeper into its hiding place. Do not fear, Astrid says, noting your alarm. It cannot touch you while you bear the dream anchor's mark and walk with a guide. The path widens suddenly, opening onto a clearing in the endless forest. At its center stands a circular structure of standing stones, each twice the height of a person, and covered in carved runes that seem to shift and change when not directly observed. Within the circle, a great fire burns without fuel, its flames white-blue and giving off no smoke. The Dream Circle, Astrid announces. Here, the dream weavers of many generations gather to share their wisdom and to maintain the old ways. As she speaks, forms begin to materialize around the fire. Men and women of varying ages, some in clothing recognizable as Norse, others in garments strange and ancient. Some appear solid, others translucent, and a few are merely suggestions of human shape, impressions rather than actual forms. Are they real people? Other dreamers? You ask, hesitating at the edge of the circle. Some yes, some no, Astrid answers cryptically. Some are dreamers from distant villages who have learned to direct their night journeys to this gathering place. Others are the echoes of dream weavers long dead, whose knowledge was so valuable that they found ways to preserve portions of themselves in this realm. And some, she gestures to the vaguer forms, are dream fragments, pieces of collective memory that take shape when needed. She leads you into the circle, and you feel a subtle change as you cross the threshold between the standing stones. A pressure against your ethereal skin, as though passing through a membrane. The white-blue firelight illuminates everything with perfect clarity, showing details invisible in the forest's half-light. The intricate knotwork carved into the stones, the expressions on the gathered faces, the small objects many hold, bones, stones, carved figures, bundles of herbs. An elderly man with one eye hidden behind a patch nods to Astrid. You bring a new student to the circle. His voice carries the cadence of waves against a shore. One from distant shores and times. This one seeks understanding of our sleep ways, Astrid replies with a formal bow. I deem the knowledge worth preserving. The one-eyed man, who bears an unsettling resemblance to depictions you've seen of Odin himself, examines you with his single piercing eye. The old ways fade, New gods spread across the lands. Perhaps it is wise to share our dream lore with those who would remember. He gestures for you to approach the fire. As you step forward, the flames change color, shifting to a deep purple shot through with gold. The fire doesn't radiate heat as an ordinary fire would, but instead emanates a sensation similar to the moment before a summer storm, a charged, expectant energy that raises the fine hairs on your ethereal form. Look into the flames, Astrid instructs. The dream fire shows each person what they most need to understand. You gaze into the hypnotic dance of purple and gold, and the flames seem to deepen, opening like a doorway. Within their depths, images begin to form, not just visual pictures, but complete sensory experiences that enfold you despite your physical body lying hundreds of miles and 1,000 years away from what you witness. You see a young mother in a small hut singing softly to her feverish child. She places a small pouch beneath the child's pillow, filled with dried rowan berries, chamomile flowers, and a tiny piece of amber. As she sings, she draws water from a wooden bowl and, with her finger, traces a spiral pattern on her child's forehead. The fever flush on the child's face gradually subsides as sleep comes. The scene shifts, and now you observe an old warrior preparing for what he knows will be his final night. His body, scarred from countless battles, failing at last from age, rather than enemy blades. With trembling hands, he arranges objects around his bed. His first sword, now too heavy for his weakened arm, a lock of hair from a long-dead wife, a drinking horn filled not with mead, but with water from a sacred spring. He lies down facing north, his rheumy eyes fixed on the pole star, visible through the smoke hole above. His lips move in prayer, not to the Christian God being preached in nearby settlements, but to Odin All-Father, asking for a place in Valhalla, despite dying a straw death rather than falling in battle. Another shift, and you witness a vulva, a seeress, inhaling deeply from a steaming brew before lying down on a platform of furs arranged over a burial mound. Beside her, apprentices maintain a small fire of specific woods and herbs, the smoke curling around the vulva's prone form. She has been asked to seek wisdom from the dead, to undertake a dream journey to the realm of ancestors for guidance during a time of village crisis. Her breathing slows, her body stiffens, and though you cannot see it with ordinary vision, you perceive her soul, a shimmering golden light, rising from her form and descending into the mound beneath. More visions follow in rapid succession. A fisherman carving protective runes into the headboard of his bed to ward off the draga. The water dead who might call to him in dreams, trying to lure him to join them beneath the waves. A young girl, learning to interpret dream symbols from her grandmother, carefully placing specific stones in a pattern around her sleeping place. A family performing sleep rituals before a journey, asking for dreams that would warn of any dangers ahead. Through each vision, common elements emerge. The careful preparation of the sleeping area, the use of objects with personal or symbolic significance, the recitation of verses or prayers, specific body positions and breathing practices. You begin to understand that the Norse approach to sleep was not casual but deeply intentional, a recognition that the vulnerable state of slumber required protection, and that dreams themselves were valuable resources to be cultivated and interpreted. The visions in the fire subside gradually, the flames returning to their white-blue color. You find yourself gazing not at the fire but at your own hands, where the dream anchor symbol pulses gently with each beat of your distant heart. What you have seen, says the one-eyed elder, are fragments of our dream wisdom. The Norse peoples understood what many forget, that sleep is not merely absence of wakefulness, but a state with its own purposes and powers. A woman steps forward, her clothing marking her as from an earlier time than even Astrid's people. Her woolen dress is fastened with bone pins, and around her neck hangs a pendant of amber with an insect suspended within. In the oldest days, she says, her accent thick but comprehensible, we knew that dreams were messages from the gods, the dead, and parts of ourselves too wise for waking minds to comprehend. We developed ways to invite helpful dreams and ward against those that would harm. She opens her hand, revealing a collection of small objects: a bird's feather, a smooth river stone, a piece of antler carved with runes, a dried flower preserved somehow across centuries. Dream talismans, she explains, each with power to shape the night's journey. The feather, she continues, brings dreams that soar above troubles, giving perspective to waking problems. The stone grounds the dreamer, preventing wandering too far into dangerous realms. The carved antler invokes Frey's protection and fertility of mind. The flower, she smiles sadly, brings dreams of loved ones lost to death or distance. The fool, one-eyed man speaks again. Beyond talismans were the dream verses, songs and chants passed from generation to generation, their rhythms aligning the dreamer's breath and heartbeat to the patterns most conducive to beneficial dreams. He begins to chant in a language older than any you've heard, the syllables resonating in a way that makes the standing stones themselves vibrate subtly. Other figures around the circle join in, creating a complex harmony that seems to alter the very fabric of this dream space. The air thickens, colors intensify, and you feel a profound shift in your awareness, as though new chambers of perception are opening within you. Astrid touches your shoulder, bringing you back to the immediate scene. There is more to show you, she says, but our time grows short. The storm in the waking world has begun to abate, and soon the first grey light of dawn will appear. Before you return, there is one more aspect of our dream wisdom you should witness. She leads you to the edge of the circle, where a small wooden chest rests against one of the standing stones. The chest is ancient, its wood darkened with age, its metal fittings green with verdigris. Yet when Astrid opens it, the interior glows with a soft amber light. Inside, arranged on a bed of dried moss, lie dozens of small wooden discs similar to the dream anchor placed beside your sleeping form. Yet each is unique, bearing different patterns, symbols and runes. Some appear incredibly ancient, the wood petrified to stone. Others seem relatively new, the knife marks still fresh. Dream anchors from many generations, Astrid explains, each created by a dream weaver for their own use or for someone under their protection. When a dream weaver dies, their anchor may be placed here, in the dream world, where its power continues to support the community of dreamers. She selects one of the oldest discs, its surface worn smooth by countless hands. This belonged to Thorgerd Waverider, who lived 10 generations past. She was the first to journey in dreams to the western lands across the great ocean, seeing settlements that would not exist for centuries. Her anchor bears protection against being lost in time, a valuable charm for those whose dreams show what may come rather than what has been. You peer closer at the ancient disc and see that its central symbol resembles an hourglass surrounded by concentric circles, a representation, perhaps, of time contained and controlled. And this one, Astrid continues, selecting a disc made from pale wood with a reddish core, belonged to Ulf the healer, who could enter the dreams of the sick and guide them back to health. His anchor bears the symbol of air, goddess of healing, combined with Odin's knowledge rune. As she speaks, the fire at the center of the circle flares suddenly, sending shadows dancing across the standing stones. The gathered dream figures look upward, as though hearing a sound beyond your perception. Dawn approaches in the waking world. The one-eyed elder announces, "The dreamer must return." Astrid nods, closing the chest carefully. There is much more to our dream wisdom than can be shared in a single night's journey. The preparation of dream herbs, the interpretation of symbols, the navigation of the 9 worlds. These are subjects that take years to master. Will I remember any of this? You ask, suddenly concerned that this experience, this glimpse into ancient wisdom, might dissolve upon waking like ordinary dreams. The dream anchor will help you retain what you have learned, Astrid assures you. Though like all dreams, the memories will be clearest immediately upon waking, then fade somewhat with the day's activities. This is why we keep dream journals, carved, runes or painted symbols made first thing upon waking, to preserve the night's wisdom. She reaches forward and places her palm against your forehead, directly over the glowing dream anchor symbol. To return to your body, you must follow the anchor's call. Close your eyes and listen for the rhythm of your distant heartbeat. You close your ethereal eyes and detect, faintly at first, then with increasing clarity, the steady thump of your physical heart. With each beat, you feel a gentle tug, as though an invisible cord is pulling you back toward the waking world. Remember, Astrid's voice seems to come from increasingly far away. The old ways may fade from the world, but they remain alive in dreams. Seek us in the dark woods, in the circle of stones, when you need guidance or protection in your night journeys. The sensation of movement accelerates, a rushing feeling similar to falling, yet somehow upward rather than down. The dream forest, the stone circle, the gathered figures all blur and dissolve around you. For a moment, you glimpse what might be the branches of an impossibly vast tree, Yggdrasil itself perhaps. Before that too fades from perception. Then, with a subtle shift that is neither sound nor movement, but something between the two, you find yourself back in your body. The longhouse gradually comes into focus around you. The central fire now burned down to glowing embers. The soft sounds of sleeping people. The pre-dawn stillness that comes after a storm has passed. Your hand finds the wooden dream anchor beside your pillow, still warm to the touch. The carved symbols seem deeper somehow, more defined than you remember. Beneath your pillow, the bundle of dream herbs has released most of its fragrance, but a faint, pleasant aroma still clings to your fingertips when you touch it. Outside, through small gaps in the wooden shutters, the first faint grey light of dawn begins to appear. Soon, the longhouse will stir to life. The fire will be built up. Morning porridge prepared, water fetched, daily tasks begun. Yet for this moment, suspended between night and day, between dream and wakefulness, you lie still, holding the ancient wisdom you've glimpsed like a precious gem in your mind. Across the room, Astrid, the waking physical Astrid, with her bent back and gnarled hands, meets your gaze. She nods once, a slight smile lifting the corners of her mouth, acknowledging your successful return from the dream journey. No words are needed. In her eyes you see the same ancient knowledge that was shared in the stone circle beneath the impossible trees. In the days and nights that follow, you learn more of the Norse sleep traditions, you discover how certain sleeping positions are believed to invite different types of dreams. Lying on the back with arms at the sides for prophetic visions, curled on the right side for healing dreams, on the left side for communication with the dead, on the stomach only when seeking dreamless sleep. You learn of the materials used to craft the most effective dream pillows, goose down mixed with dried lavender and chamomile for peaceful sleep, barley chaff and valerian root for deep, dreamless rest, deer hair and mugwort for those seeking vision dreams. You observe how pillows are positioned, higher for the elderly to help with breathing, lower for the young to prevent night terrors, scented with specific herbs depending on the dreamer's needs. The people of Hedeby teach you their dream interpretation systems, how north-facing dreams often concern ancestors and heritage, how dreams of water might foretell emotional challenges, how animals appearing in dreams carry specific messages from gods or spirits. You learn that dreams occurring just before dawn are considered most prophetic, while those in deep night often reflect fears rather than foreknowledge. Most importantly, you come to understand that for these ancient Norse people, sleep was not merely a biological necessity but a sacred time, a daily opportunity to commune with deeper wisdom, to heal both body and spirit, and to maintain connection with the unseen worlds that they believed existed alongside their own. As winter slowly loosens its grip on the northern lands and the days begin to lengthen, you find yourself changed by this knowledge. Even when you eventually leave Hedeby, continuing your journey through distant lands and times, you carry with you the dream anchor Astrid gifted you, a physical reminder of wisdom nearly lost to history, of a time when humans understood that proper sleep was not merely rest, but a profound journey of the soul. Thank you for spending this quiet time with us, drifting through forgotten echoes of history. If this story brought you peace, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs rest. We'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Until next time, sleep well, dream softly, and good night.